Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 125, which are two movies that the world decided to merge together, not us, and we decided to cover both movies just as the world did. Of course, we're talking about Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, came out this year in 2023, and Oppenheimer also came out in 2023, and of course that is directed by Christopher Nolan. Two unlikely films, and of course many opinions from all three of us on both of these films. It was fascinating to hear us go through them. So I had certain issues on one film, Daniel had certain issues on another film. We found a way to talk through it through the 3-hour episode, and it was actually a really cool episode. I really appreciate it, and kind of awesome to do something so current and so topical, because we usually do things a little bit more obscure. But it was a lot of fun talking about these movies and sort of talking about the implication of what doing movies like this means to Hollywood and the success of Hollywood and where Hollywood's going to go further from here. So really cool to be able to do that. Don't have any announcements just yet. I should say that I will be out of town and we won't be able to record any podcasts for the next 2 weeks. So if you're following us on Twitch, we won't have any Twitch streams for the next 2 weeks. So the next possible Twitch stream will be on September 9th. So just mark your calendar for that if you'd like to follow us there. Of course, if you want to follow us on Twitch, just go to twitch.tv/martini_giant, twitch.tv/martini_giant. And of course, if you'd like to watch these on YouTube, we'd love to have you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is youtube.com/@martinigiant. All right, but for now, please enjoy Barbenheimer.
These together did enormous business.
The Barbie is something like 700 million so far.
Oh, it's gigantic. And Barbie probably pushed Oppenheimer to
further.
Nearly
they
twice
helped
as
each
much.
other.
Yeah, it was a classic counter-programming example.
An American story.
It's the fourth largest weekend in box office ever.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. It's pretty great.
And there's a lot that means a lot.
Yeah,
that just unpacking the meaning of that is huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Especially
these are these are two very movie theater movies. They were advertised that these aren't things that you can just sort of it's the next Marvel thing you could catch on Disney Plus. This is both were sold as experiences. And together they made a very special weekend at the movies for people,
and community as well.
Yep.
Right. I mean, they are scalping 70mm tickets.
Yes.
So because they're sold out for so long.
After I got off the phone with you, I was like, well, I'll buy my ticket right now. Nothing anywhere. I was shut out. That was it. You got the last, unless I was going to sit in the literal front row for Oppenheimer. I've seen it already, but
so I did the 5 perf, not the 15 perf.
What is the difference between 5 and 15?
Okay, so they make two different versions of 70mm. One of them is shown in IMAX, which is basically VistaVision, where it's long.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's huge, right?
It's like the old 60s style thing.
And then the other one is 5 perf, where it's shot horizontally.
Right.
Okay, so it's slightly smaller. So I saw the 5 perf.
I see. And how did that experience treat you?
The same as any other freaking movie. It really didn't make a difference.
Didn't make a difference.
Well, no, it did make a difference. They were strobing at 24 frames, and I could see the strobing, as opposed to digital, which has no strobing.
I saw it in.
I saw digital.
I saw digital, and it was genuinely terrible.
Really?
all of the whites had very steppy edges.
That almost seems like they did that on purpose. Then.
It was really, really ugly.
Because there's no reason why it should be that way.
Yeah, it was too bad, because itself is a very beautifully photographed movie, but it was like sitting very close to a TV screen.
Huh.
Which is a drag.
I didn't have that.
No.
I saw it in 75 perf, and it was good.
Yeah,
50 perf, you said.
250 perf.
5 perf. 5 perf versus
that's
15
40%
perf.
alcohol, actually. Just to let you know.
Another proof.
Sorry.
People know. I mean, you guys know the difference. You know the difference in perfs. And well, we were still. They don't make perfs
they don't
anymore.
Know it. The audience doesn't know.
The audience doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Perfs is the amount of perforations on the side.
I saw it in one perf.
Yeah,
which was just an animated GIF.
It was someone loading in slides on a travel
slideshow, but really hear the and that was part of the soundtrack. And it was great.
That was it. That was beautiful. A very curious way to show a film, but you know, these old timers, that's how it is.
Yeah. So I don't even know how to unpack this because there's a lot to discuss. The plots themselves are almost
they're radically different films.
Radically different films, and we can talk about the plots and the consequences and what each one of them means.
Mm-hmm.
I
think there's a vein there, and I think, you know, thinking about it, because I did it within 24 hours, both films.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's a very much a propaganda from a very young age of telling you it's all right and life is perfect and everything, like then Barbie, right? Like this is what you aspire, and Barbie is perfect and she's beautiful and great teeth. And at the same time in Oppenheimer, there's like, they do this thing where it's almost like the Americans can't handle the truth. I felt the relationship between the two is when the scene where he was coming in and everybody was clapping towards the end.
Yeah.
Right. And there was this kind of like naive kind of tone to everybody. And I felt like there's what America does and there's what American citizens know. And
yeah,
it's
exactly,
a little
because
bit living
Barbie was formed in the years that Oppenheimer largely takes place in.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I feel like
getting
there
like
is
a crossover in that.
Yeah, like the way they're afraid to tell people, they hide from Americans the truth in a way, and at the same time they feed them this stuff to believe in, and it's almost like they have trouble once they realize that they've seen behind the curtain.
Both films sort of deal with perception of
that's
things.
Right. Yeah. And
I think it's really
America hides that perception of things for its citizens.
Right.
And the perception of things is they feed them stuff that they, you know, it's almost like you want to keep them dumb or keep them following this
They want
tradition.
to tell a particular story, you know.
That's right. So they were always crafting in Oppenheimer a story. And there was always somebody trying to figure out the story. Well, you went to a party with him and that party went to here. And
right. Well, you know, another way to say it actually is that both films are kind of about controlling the narrative. Right.
Controlling the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of interesting. Because like the Barbenheimer, we said it finally, got it out there. Barbenheimer, like it is, it's totally random that these two movies happened together. But it's sort of spectacular that they did. And like the crowds for both theaters that I saw it in were terrific and very responsive and very like everyone really enjoyed. It's like it was nice to be out in a crowd watching a movie, and that was the general tone for both.
But
audiences.
I know like that. But I think what was interesting is like, you know, Nolan did this thing. It's like, you must see the film in my intended format, or I will freaking slay you.
Oh yeah,
you know.
This is
and
his
then
normal.
So people do that, and they're loyal to the Nolan bullshit, which it is. I'm sorry, it is.
Well, it's certainly it's PR.
Bullshit.
It's PR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because here, I'm gonna just give it away. This movie is a talkie movie. It is not a special effects movie, but they sell it as a visual spectacular amazingness when it's just a bunch of guys talking.
This
with
is
a lot of music
this is
going
exactly
over.
what happened.
Which one? Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, but did they portray it as really a kind of this moral opera?
Yeah,
I understand, but it's just a talking movie.
Right. I think that there's like,
and it sounds like there's no CGI in this. We didn't use any CGI.
Yeah. Well,
like I don't give a shit. There's no CGI needed.
No one's going.
They're just trying to get people.
It's a talk fest. It's a very fast-paced talk fest, but it's a talk fest. The thing that I would say with Oppenheimer, like with the how can I say it? Like this is the same thing. This is sort of the same problem. And when I say problem, I'm just saying like the same confrontation that people had with the Hateful Eight, because the Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's movie, came out in the roadshow edition where you could see it in 70 millimeter and all this kind of stuff. That movie is all indoors close-ups of people talking.
Right.
Like the entire thing. It's super widescreen, but that's pretty much, you're seeing this. That's
it's a play.
It's a play. And so a lot of people were very disappointed in that. And I understand it. But in both cases, I think that the reason to see such things in the theater is that I don't believe that the reason to see things in the theater is because they're filled with huge visual effects, explosion things. Like I do think that
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that like to clarify, like I think what Nolan is, he's not telling people that why he is selling it this way is, well, he has his own fucking thing that he's selling. Like he's a showman and he's selling IMAX tickets. But secondarily, and he's also making an incredibly talky film that he wants to make money. So he's saying go see it in the most expensive possible format. So it makes a lot of money. But also there is something very powerful about seeing like nothing but close-ups on a gigantic fucking screen. Like it's very, very overwhelming.
Sure.
Right.
And I'm first of all, I'm not criticizing the movie. I'm criticizing
the sales.
The sales.
I totally agree with you. What he is selling, is not what you are buying.
Only see this in 70 millimeter. The movie would come across just fine.
Right.
On my phone.
I know, but you're
a
cheerleader for getting people back in seats and saving the industry. That's all they were doing.
I understand,
I look beyond all that bullshit.
And also,
it's Barnum and Bailey's salesmanship, and that's what he's doing. That's pretty much it.
No special effects.
As long as I can get my Cracker Jack.
And like the only thing you could think of, right, is you knew there was going to be a giant explosion because, Manhattan Project, right? But you look at this and you're like, oh, no special effects. It was terrible. It was the worst explosion.
Well, it's all live action footage. It's very, very small. Like it's like they downplay
I understand.
It
it's not a
good.
It's not a good explosion.
I was talking to somebody I work with,
nature to it at all.
And it was the wrong type of explosion because it was so dark. It was definitely a fuel based.
Right.
Yes, it's not a good explosion. It did not illustrate the explosion that was conveyed. That should have been conveyed.
Right.
I thought. Yeah. Well.
I
understand.
And I also think that like they could have done it without the explosion at all.
Well,
I think
just as reflection and lights.
Well, the most effective aspect of that movie was where everything went silent and chairs were moving, but you didn't hear people.
Yep.
Or when the light flashed and it was just the breathing. That was more effective.
Great sound effects. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was the most effective aspect of that.
I think that's what he is, because I mean it's not like Nolan doesn't know what a good effects shot looks like. But what he is just showing you is just shots of maybe like a big oil can fire.
Right.
That's and so like I think that it's very like whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, he knows this is not what you're expecting to see. Like he's showing you giant shots of an oil can fire. He's not showing you like something from Interstellar. Like he knows how to create the spectacular super shot. He's done a million times. So like this is definitely a choice. I don't know if it's a good choice or a bad choice. People may react to it differently, but he like the thing that you think you're buying with this movie, it isn't there and you don't get it.
Here's my problem is that he villainizes visual effects and CGI and then gives us a movie that requires no CGI at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's like Glengarry Glen Ross. It's like no CGI at Glengarry Glen Ross.
So why are you making such a marketing point about no CGI being used? And then also
visual effects being used. Yeah.
And removing it, and that's what upsets me. Is like there's no reason to just turn them into bad people, the visual effects people into bad people.
It's marketing. It's pure marketing.
But it's bullshit. Well, it's unnecessary. The movie didn't require any of it.
Right.
And so he just let's badmouth Republicans while we're at it. And they do that too. So
yeah. Well, like this is the thing is like and this may be true for both movies. It is true for both movies for me is like there's multiple kinds of reviews you can give these movies. I think that like my feelings about Oppenheimer as a movie are very different from my feelings about Nolan as a person or salesperson or anything like, because like I'm as irritated as anybody. Like if people don't know what we're talking about here is that like there are a great number of VFX artists who are not credited in
80%.
80% were not credited in Oppenheimer, probably because they didn't want to get in the way of there's no CG marketing. Like, that's a drag, and it reinforces terrible ideas about what visual effects are, and it's also why visual effects in general are in a bad state.
All these articles that came out is like the only visual effects, only CGI ever used in a film is when they put a dress on her for the India release.
Oh, baloney!
Which is such. I mean,
it's baloney.
I'm sorry. Did they film the planet from outside blowing up with fire?
Or when the room begins to fall apart with actual digital effects? Right. Did they not use a computer, or did they use an abacus? It's silly. It's absolute. It's total nonsense.
So I'm just going to get that out of the way in terms of that conversation, because I think it's cruel and it's unnecessary, and there's no reason to badmouth visual effects.
Like when your film is playing off of the general feeling, in audiences that when I see shitty CG, that is all of CG. If I can detect it, that's when I know it's CG. And so what they don't know is that you see CG so much of your time watching things, you wouldn't even believe it. Like if you're just watching Netflix shows, just regular shows with no science fiction in it at all, CG galore all the time, totally photoreal, and you don't see it. Yes. That's because these people are super, super good at this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's only when you have incredibly shitty pipelines of incredibly abused artists that are out of businesses that are built around an abusive relationship with filmmakers, that you end up with shots that look like shit, that look like CG shit.
Right.
And that's why people are like, no one would never use CG. Baloney.
No, but the problem I have is that he's reinforcing that CG is bad,
Absolutely.
Which is completely wrong.
It's a total asshole thing to do. It's ridiculous.
It's an asshole
it's
thing
embarrassing.
To do. So that's a little bit of my asshole thing to do right there. Now, here's what's interesting, though. I will tell you this. Scott Ross saw Oppenheimer. It's not a masterpiece. I think people they're just so used to seeing crap these days.
On television, yeah.
You know?
Well, it's also the big theater experience that people have been locked away for so long.
Absolutely.
It's just I
know I feel like I'm bad-mouthing Oppenheimer the whole time. I am not. I actually thought it was a really great film, and I loved it. It was great. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I was delighted when I found out it was more of a talky stuff. Like it's
a thinky movie.
It's a thinky movie. It's a little Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy-y. You know what I mean? It's
totally.
And it's great. It's a little All the President's Men, for God's sakes, you know?
Yep.
And it's
like I said, the reviews, like if I'm reviewing Nolan, I have a lot of criticisms. If I'm reviewing the movie, I'm going to say that's a really good movie.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. So
he's treating VFX people like a fucking prick is what he's doing.
Well, I don't think
it's embarrassing.
I'm not an apologist for him, but I don't, there's marketing people take over.
Exactly. I know.
You're right.
Could be true. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, but whoever, he is responsible for it. It's his movie. So if he catches flack and he's like, oh, fuck, I fucked that up. Well, you fucked it up. That's hurting the industry.
Well, there's articles that have come out talking about how it's bullshit that 80%.
I hope that he's a nice guy and he apologizes. I didn't mean anything like that. It was all marketing got away from us, which happens all the time. I totally agree. There have been movies that I've worked on that I didn't receive credit, even though I worked on huge swaths of it.
Yeah.
You just falls off the plate. There's lots of people involved. So that may be the case. However, if someone's going to take the blame for it, it has to be him because it's his production, his studio and his movie. So that's it. I hope that he doesn't want that to have happened. I hope he didn't choose for it to be, a way to dick over CG people, but he should know that he dicked over CG people.
If you're going to dick over CG people, you should, because it's cheap and easy.
It's cheap and easy.
Everybody does it.
He did dick over CG people, and he talked about a film format that was not necessarily the most important part of the movie. But what that did is that it got everyone into theaters.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like I said, it's Barnum and Bailey action right there. That's
and the fact I don't like the fact
to the egress.
I don't like the fact that anti-CG is a selling point.
I know, it's fucking trash. It's trash. I can't believe that just because fucking CG doesn't have a union, basically. It gets turned into the fucking. It's like, oh, we can. like, yeah, we can screw these guys over. Good. It's fine.
They
It's a
do.
good leverage for our app marketing. Let's do it. I'm
Yeah.
like instead of like actually having a detailed way of talking about it, which is like, listen, the reason why CG as a business took over is largely because it's better at a lot of things than other forms of VFX. But even then, it gives producers more control. That's why they wanted it to be everywhere. Like it gives them control all the way through post, right? As opposed to you make hard decisions in pre-production, commit to them, and if you're going to change it, you have to reshoot it. Now they don't even like the director can be done and go home, and you can still be figuring out action sequences with your CG group. Like it doesn't make any difference. And so like I personally worked on superhero movies in which we never saw the directors at all. Like these action sequences that people enjoy are being created wholesale by the teams of VFX people that are working on the film or in the previous guys. And the director may see it once every couple of weeks, maybe, and do a sign off. And like and some of these producers come in and change things until you run out of time, run out of money, and then the shot looks like shit because you basically just started it 2 days ago, and it's too late, and you have to hand the shot in, and that's why you end up with shitty shots.
And they don't care,
and nobody gives a shit, and the
right.
audiences blame us.
There's actually some interesting articles about it, and specifically there's a podcast where some guy, very popular, like meaning non-technical podcast, where it's like, why does CG look so crappy these days? And they're like, Marvel is fucking everyone.
Yeah,
and it's not the artist's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the decision making that's being put up. Right. So
it's always decision making, but I knew that this business was in trouble when I VFX souped a film in 2010, and I remember having a discussion. It was my first film as a VFX supervisor, and I was going over schedule, and the producer was like, I guess he wanted to go and, grab a light sandwich or something, because he was like, you know what? You'll be done with the VFX when I tell you, okay? And he just left.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, there you go.
Yeah, that's
he just doesn't give a shit. And, to him, it was like, just B level's good enough.
Yep.
I just want to get this in the can and move forward and make my money.
Yep.
But that attitude is what killed the business. Marvel, that lazy attitude is what made Marvel flourish, because they're like, it just makes money and we don't have to overthink it. We already own everything.
These studios go out and they get like some big tax break to shoot somewhere. The executives pocket the money from the tax break, and then they make visual effects companies fight over to drive the price down. Yeah, exactly. That's basically what happens on every show.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to stop caring.
Right. This is why visual effects companies go out of business.
That's right.
This is, like people are like, it's really ridiculous. And Nolan is I understand his commitment to the aesthetic of film. That's great. But like Tarantino has the same thing, and he realizes that he's simply obsessive about it and he wants it his own way. He doesn't take it out on anybody else. Meanwhile, Nolan makes it his fucking advertising campaign. Like that's jerky. It's abusive. It's jerky. Like you shouldn't be doing that. Like he knows as well.
Nolan and Tarantino, like they're big money for Photocam, because that's the last lab that will produce the film.
Good point there.
And for the time, to talk about the decent side of it, and talk about Tarantino, where he's just like and I agree with him that if you want like the best looking stuff in the world, shoot film. It's still the best. However, it's not going to be true for very much longer. So let's not worry about it too much. And besides,
it's also the problem
it's a taste thing. Like Michael Mann shot on video and it looked great.
The biggest issue is that it takes too long.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to develop the film, you have to produce the film, you have to scan the film. It's expensive
to do it.
As opposed to it's in the hard drive just.
But exactly. But Tarantino thinks about it only in terms of himself, what he prefers and how he wants to work. That's totally fair game. That's what he wants to do. He's got the money to do it. Go ahead and fine. That's fine. That's great. Nolan has found a way to leverage people's ignorance so he can make more money. And even though that actually hurts VFX workers, like
yes, and
that fucking blows.
You're right. Leveraging people's ignorance is really exactly what I think. That's a good
He's
way.
He's a smart guy, and he could do a much better job of explaining himself.
And it comes back to like he's a filmmaker who makes dumb people feel like they're smart people.
Well, yeah. The thing is, like, past a certain point, I'm a huge Nolan fan. I'm not huge on his early movies, so like I have nothing to say bad about, especially his last many movies. I've really loved. I think they're terrific films. Yeah. And just like I also think the guy who directed Life of Pi is a wonderful director.
He was horrible.
A fucking jerk, apparently.
Yeah. No, like, he was horrible for VFX artists.
He destroyed a whole company, and he didn't give a shit, and he joked about it.
He did not care. Yeah, that was really the time.
You know? And so, like, now Nolan is not that bad, but what Nolan is doing over this just to fucking get people in the theater, like, don't do it at the expense of people's livelihoods. That's all I'm asking.
What were you going to say, Eric?
Well, it was really the Life of Pi thing that was really the beginning of the end.
It's embarrassing, yeah.
And it's just going to ebb and flow. Good people are going to leave the business because they got screwed around, and that's basically it.
That's really was the nail for me.
That was totally. It was so disrespectful.
That was it. When
I was like,
realized,
fuck this guy, man. He sucks. And
I quit the VS. I pretty much quit visual effects not long after
that.
And
they were making fun of it at the Oscars again.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
good luck, man.
What the fuck, man?
Good luck.
Hey, I'm glad we're all in support of the actors and the writers striking and trying to do all that stuff. That's great. But
it's like it's really stupid when people crap where they sleep, and yet they do it. And so I was like, after that producer said that comment to me, and then it was some other things, I was like, all right, I'm just going to watch out for myself. These guys nobody cares about the business. So
I think there's filmmaking that's going to become interesting again. And I think that this is it.
We're not talking about filmmaking. We're talking about visual effects business.
I understand.
Right now.
And I think that's part of filmmaking.
Well, I think obviously filmmaking is Chris, but hold on a second. That's of course, but we were just talking about that. We're not talking about the life of filmmaking and interesting things. The point we should really circle around is that if you want this interesting filmmaking to occur, which you think the 70s will come back again, and I don't disagree, there's going to be a huge hole in a business that will help excel that filmmaking. So it is a big problem. And writers and other things. I think that what their behavior over the past 15 years, when that revolution comes, there's going to be a lot of missing people.
It's going to be payback, man.
or young people who are talented, but their careers are starting out. So the work won't be as great.
Here's what I think is going to happen. And I know I beat this drum all the time, is that the studios and their pipelines and all of this bullshit mechanism that has supported the Marvel style of filmmaking for so long is not long for this world. Like, that can't be. Like, it's just like people want to go see good, interesting films. Pipeline does not produce good, interesting films. People want visionary, good-looking images, and that's not what you get with Pipeline VFX with 10,000 people. You know, and all these things are within reach of very small production crews of like 10 to 20 people, and like you can make stuff that looks incredibly good and sell direct to distributors or put it up on a platform. Like, none of these fucking idiots or their studios, it's useless. Like, they don't do anything. Like, with the things that produce Marvel, the studio system that produces Marvel films is as dated as it could possibly be. And all you got to do is let go of wanting to work with them. Like, they don't actually provide you anything. So don't.
I do want to get back to something Eric said, because I think I agree with you and a lot of what you said. However, I think that, if you want to go back to our analogy of the 70s, the reason 70s succeeded in some ways is because they gave chances to brand new filmmakers that didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Right? Chris, I think, again, you're missing my point. We were just talking about visual effects business. Life of Pi and the directors. Sure. And then you were talking about, great films. What I'm saying is that these great filmmakers that are emerging for this new 70s, a lot of the support, the artists, the craftspeople that made the 70s films cool, there's a hole in the world of craftspeople, like visual effects people, everything, because of all these things going on. Think about this. Think about like what CG did to matte painters, right? Mm-hmm. And they left, or optical people, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if this whole regeneration, I worked at an optical house, so I used to scan film and do it that way in the late 90s. It's like all those guys that were brilliant guys in the scanning room are gone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw one working at Whole Foods, and it's like all these great things of craftspeople, because there was not a unified industry where they were protected and all. So when these great revolutions come, or Renaissance periods for great new film directors, there's going to be gaps in things because no one stood by as a whole unified force, right? They were all like the producers I worked for. I said,
Sure.
You'll be done when I tell you to get done. And it's like, okay. And then so I left, and people leave, and just you count the numbers. And then when a great filmmaker comes, it's like he's not going to like, is that guy still around who did this or this or this? No. How do you do this? It's like there's a lost craft, which didn't need to be. You know, it didn't need to be that way. And it's a shame. And you can, you know, even Ang Lee could have really changed or been like, they are filmmakers as well, the visual effects guy, and given them some recognition when he won the Academy Award. And it wasn't like his movie was like Roller Coaster or Towering Inferno. The whole movie was like blue or green screen. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, it was literally all CG, and yet he couldn't recognize. That's a big problem.
So like the thing that I'd like to point out is like the relationship with what Nolan what Nolan is leveraging, meaning CG is bad, right, in order to make money, right? That ignorance that he is leveraging, right, is what the studios are doing again now, right? Like what this could be solved.
What do you mean they're doing it again now?
Meaning like the problem you're talking about, Eric, is like all the folks, like for instance, like the entire most artists that I deal with, most writers that I deal with are all super anti-AI, right? And the reason why they are is because they've been effectively Nolanized, right? They're just like, Nolan's like, CG is bad, computers are bad, AI is bad, it's bad. Like that's cheating. When actually those are the tools that will fill the hole that you are talking about. Like the craft creation industry, like the old model shop at DD, et cetera, like is gone, right? All of those people refusing to change over into a media that would allow them to continue to work and make art easier under a smaller budget for themselves are not choosing to do that because they look at it and say like, oh, these computers are ruining everything. That's the Tom Saint Armand argument. Like Tom Saint Armand, I've talked about it before. Tom Saint Armand is a great animator. He worked on Empire Strikes Back as a physical animator under Phil Tippett. And when Spaz created incredible looking dinosaurs for Jurassic Park and changed the industry, people like Tom Saint Armand changed how they did effects.
Yeah.
And because they changed, they continued to work. They're like, I'm a great animator. It doesn't matter what media I am animating in, right? But it's all changing again, right? And all of the artists, all the people that Tom knew that were traditional animators went out of business. They worked at Ralph's, because they wouldn't make the change. That's what's happening to writers and artists right now, right? And the studios are encouraging it because it keeps them in control of the situation as it starts to fly out of control. So what I would say,
there's a couple of things. There's a couple caveats to this I want to note. Okay, because this has come up, right? What the studios are doing is they know that the AI can't necessarily write the whole script, but they want the AI to write enough of the script that the writer doesn't get the credit.
Fix it. Yeah, right. Yeah,
so it's like, oh no, you didn't come up with the idea, the AI did, so the AI owns it, i.e. I own it, and so you're not going to get any credit. I'm just going to pay you your day rate to fix the script.
Exactly. You're just a fix-it guy. You're just a tracer. You're just a CG bottom of the line technician. And like the thing is that this is not a new scam. This before AI, I'm a victim of the scam. Like as I have gone and pitched lots of things around Hollywood, and I'm a writer and all this kind of stuff. I'm not union, but like there's a scam that they run studios, which is they'll have writers come in and just a meet and greet, just talk about some ideas, and then they're like, so long, what would you do with, like a fucking Frankenstein movie? Like what kind of thing would you bring to the table? And you sort of just spitball stuff, and then they take it. They don't pay you for this stuff. They just take it. It was part of a conversation they were having with you, and they just take it and own it. That's it. Like that's the kind of relationship they want, right? And so what I am saying is that you don't need these motherfuckers.
It was interesting. It was interesting, Eric, because you brought that up to me earlier in a different situation, and it's a person we know, and I'm not going to mention names because this is recorded, but it's a person we both know. And
Robert
I didn't
Talmadge?
know that. No, I said we're not going to mention names.
Mr. Talcum?
No, but it
Bob
was
Talcum.
No, it was when you were working at
Bobby
Telegraph, and the guy came in and says, "Hide your monitors." He steals stuff. Right.
Yeah, well,
and I didn't know that about that person. I thought he's a cool guy. And he was like, "Hey, why don't you come by? Show me some of the stuff you're doing." And you said, "Don't do it." And then I realized, oh shit, that's exactly what he was doing. He wanted me to take my ideas.
These are fucking thieves. They're thieves. That's how it works. Like they're
it's like, what are you doing in R&D? And it's like, great, I'm going to take your idea and say I invented it.
There is a movie that exists.
It's terrible.
There's a movie that exists.
That's a true story about that guy.
I know it is, and I realized it after you said that.
And it's really true. It's
I
really
know.
like, holy moly.
I'm telling you that there's a movie.
Dan Throm.
There's a movie.
That was his name. I'm sorry.
There's a movie that exists that you can watch on HBO. Right. It's not a particularly good movie. It did mediocre business.
Blue Cortez.
I didn't want to say the name.
God.
But
so good. I love the
there
ending.
are so many of my ideas in that motherfucking thing. I was shocked. I was like, this is a meeting that I took with some douchebags, and they simply wrote down everything I said and gave it to somebody else and saying, like, you have to write our script. This is our idea. Write this script. And they underpaid that guy, didn't pay me, and then they got money for a movie. Pretty fucking good deal.
Here's another thing. When you hear another thing that gets done, and this happens all the time, right? Method. I was at Method, and they were doing a bid to work on the first Thor film where they had to do the Rainbow Bridge, right?
Yeah. Right.
And it was a fiasco at the time, a political fiasco, because it was right after the merger with Riot, et cetera. And it was just the worst pitch video I've ever seen. It was just horrible. It was a joke. It was might as well have been like the Mimi cat, the cat with the rainbows coming out the asshole.
Right.
Like that's almost what it looked like. And I was like, I can't believe that we submitted this. But Gabby said, don't worry about it because she bid the lowest bid. Right?
Right.
And so guess what? We won with that crap, right? And the contingency was, okay, you win because of your price, but here's the best one we got from ILM. You have to make it look as good as that.
With the shitty price.
So make it just as good as that at that price.
That's what I mean, man. Like
here's your reference. It has to look as good as this.
Yeah. This is so when you hear me blathering on about that, embrace the new tools, take control of the situation, and fuck the studios. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like this is all they're going to do forever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, Nolan.
The studios are the problem. It's not the tools.
Yeah, exactly. The studio is the problem. They're a bunch of thieves, and they don't do anything. They don't fucking make anything. They don't do anything. Like, and there's a version of everything that you need yourself to get together. If you had 20 people together right now, within a short period of time, you'd have something that looked as good as Everything Everywhere All at Once.
But you don't have a theater system that works.
Exactly. But you also don't really need a theater system.
Well, you don't really need one too. But anyway, let's get let's sort of back on track with Barbenheimer.
That's all of Nolan being a fucking jerk about VFX. Like that's
Nolan being a jerk about VFX.
Yeah. Great filmmaker.
Great filmmaker.
What if he didn't have anything to do with that?
It may not have. I don't. I'm like right now. He's
Maybe
just
not.
right now. Nolan is just a symbol of my anger towards this kind of situation.
Well, he also, all of
might
his
be a nice
films
guy.
keep doing that, right? He keeps talking about Tenet or whatever. Oh, no, we blew up a real airplane or whatever the hell it is, you know?
right.
So he's always going to try to.
Like he doesn't do very much to like. He's a very smart guy. He could figure out a way who likes to explain things. He could figure out a way to articulate the actual problem so that it wasn't hurting VFX people. But instead, he's just like, I just think that CG looks like shit, and so I do it in a special way that you have to see it, pay an
but
IMAX
that's just
ticket to go see it.
douchebaggery. That's just douchebag stuff.
It is Barnum Brothers Ringling Circus stuff. I get it. It's business, but in that VFX it has been, like VFX is as fucked as any of the writers or actors, and it can't be saved because they have no union.
I did love the business. I loved doing visual effects. I really did. And
It was great in the early 2000s,
I loved being an
man.
artist. That's right. I loved being an artist. I worked so hard, and I just that's just the way life is, and whatever. But the smugness is what makes me make comments like I just did. The smugness. It's like there's so many smug douchebags, and at the same, it's like, okay, good luck,
And to be clear, like I've never met Nolan. I've never worked with him. I mean, like for instance, everyone told all of us like, what no, Fincher's an asshole, an absolute terrible person, screams at everybody's out.
He's
like, he's a
great.
brat. He's fucking awesome. He's great. He's one of the best.
And he's
but
not.
he was
people to work
in
for,
the
period.
business, though.
But
Now,
he's not. He doesn't yell at people.
None of the things you've heard about, you've never heard. All the bad things you've ever heard about Fincher. We've worked with him. We can tell you they're not true.
He's
And
very
he does.
reasonable.
He does.
His requests are very reasonable.
Yes,
He does have big hands.
he has. And I told him to his face, Dave, back off, man. I know how big those hands are. Actually, no, I just embarrassed myself like I always do. Anyway, so Nolan may be a really good guy. I don't know him, and I can't say. He is only a symbol of what I perceive to be a problem. And if we ever meet him and he's a great guy, I take people's actual interactions over anything.
Right.
But right now, that it is representative of a problem that isn't going to get any better.
No. And it's too bad.
It's a drag. Some
It's
beautiful art
too
done.
bad.
Yep.
I actually think, I do think probably I'm completely wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I think some of the, at least that I've been in the business, I think one of the things that really, really contributed, in my view, that killed our business was giving the states all those tax credit rights where they fought and bargained for them.
Yeah, it's bad news. Treating
You know what
states
I mean?
like the visual
because
effects
it just
industry.
made everything like, the successful people were brokers who can just manage all that. I did a film as a VFX soup, not the one where there was the douchebag, but another douchebag. And this guy who's well known and very wealthy, I won't say Robert Talcum's name, but
Bobby
he
T.
would buy these credits and bid them off.
Right.
Mhm.
And he was doing this, he had this whole angle with the sub companies that he had, and they were buying all these credits and I'm like, some indie film director is going to get screwed by this.
Well,
It's just,
here's
I
absolutely.
know
right,
it's a
right.
market, but it's still like,
but it's a scam also. It's a political scam because here's what happens, right? Let's say you're a governor of X state, right? And you want to convince your the people who vote for you, right? That you are going to bring business to their state. You can try to bring a big factory that's going to bring 50,000 jobs over, but that doesn't work very well politically. If you have Arnold Schwarzenegger on stage shaking hands saying, I'm going to give credits to visual effects,
Right.
and it is, we're going to make movies in the state of Georgia or whatever the heck it
bet.
is, right?
Right.
That is going to get people to vote for you more than building a train factory.
It's true. It's
Right?
just true. Right.
And because you're shaking hands with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
right?
it's cool.
And so that's how it's going to work. And so that it's a political scam. And by the way, there was a big thing in the state of Louisiana where they went through, it was like, holy shit, wait a minute. We're losing 80 cents on the dollar on these credits.
Yeah, it's a disaster. It's a disaster.
It was a disaster. They're like, this is bullshit. We're not making any money. We haven't given anyone jobs. we probably hired 200 people in the entire state of Louisiana.
Right.
And they really fucked that state really badly because Louisiana was like going to be the big state. Now, Georgia somehow is succeeding. And I think the reason that Georgia is succeeding is because it has a huge black contingency there that's creating a lot of very interesting, that's the Black Hollywood. And I don't,
absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
And that is
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
Absolutely, man.
He's huge.
Dude's a genius. Genius.
Not only is he a genius, he's the third highest, richest person in Hollywood.
Yeah. He's incredible. He's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He is like, I really admire.
So there's something that they created in Georgia that I'm not making excuses for it, but I'm just saying like they turned that around. That's
Tyler Perry taking control of the situation. If it was the studios, they would be like, oh, fuck Georgia into the earth. Who cares? Tyler Perry saw that you could actually turn it to their advantage and create something. That was useful to everybody because
and then what's his name in Austin? The Spy Kids guy.
Oh, Rodriguez. Yeah,
Rodriguez.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So
there's definitely these little pockets that are like, no, we're gonna actually make this money work for us.
Yes, that is how to do it, man.
Right. As opposed to we'll just hire a bunch of just get people there. And done.
Like that is the right mindset because to bring it back to what we were talking about, like and include a little bit of Fincher is like the people that you want to work with are the people that know how to make the art for real. Like Fincher actually knows how to do the VFX he's asking for. Like he may not specifically be able to go in and run the box on any particular thing, but he knows very, very well what he is doing, what he is asking for, and how it's done.
Well, he started out that way.
Exactly. So is Joe.
Yeah, and so is Joe. Like these guys know what the fuck they're doing, and they are there because they want to make a great piece of work with great people.
And interestingly, Fincher found Joe. Or to some extent, I know.
They found each other, but Fincher was Fincher when it happened.
Fincher was Fincher and got Joe into Anonymous, but
Joe was already very good. Joe's already like he was his Arc Viz stuff and all that stuff. It's just pretty spectacular.
Right.
But like these guys know what the fuck they're doing, and they make really good movies.
Yep.
And like that's who you should aspire to be as an artist. You shouldn't aspire to work for shitheads, which is what most of us actually do.
So it's funny. I knew that this is going to go completely sideways, and we're not going to necessarily talk about.
Yeah, you can't bring up all that fucking stuff, boy.
It's hard for us, right? I mean, these wounds are deep.
Yeah, oh god, it's disgusting.
We all got burned by that stuff. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that it's interesting. There's different levels of like finding a ways around it that we've accomplished because I still am working on tools that are helping visual effects and filmmakers and
absolutely
different stuff. So I still have a definitely deep passion for it. I just think it needs to be approached in a different way. I do want to bring up one other thing that I thought was interesting is that speaking of the strikes, I did do a podcast in 2020 with Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who is now like on all the news. Yeah. He's basically the COO of the SAG-AFTRA. But I did one with him specifically about digital humans, and that has become a huge part of the conversation. What's going on with a SAG, right, and a strike? So I think it's interesting to sort of look at what that perspective is and how to think about it. And he did say a point. He's like, listen, there is value for specifically high-profile actors to have scans done for themselves. It's but they retain their own rights. I'm worried about the other ones.
That's the business that you should start. In fact, like I was talking about this with my friend Ben, who's a director, and it was just like what people should do now is get themselves scanned and create sellable characters, like essentially like what character actors do, and create characters that you can plug into things, either in terms of dress or look or whatever it is, and sell those things, because that's what people are going to use. Like, oh, I want a guy that's kind of like this, like a punk dude who is really like,
Right.
yeah, that kind of.
So
jazz.
basically, but the thing that this is another interesting point, because there's another company I know called Metaphysics, which is I believe Ed Elbrook is part of it now. But they basically scan you so that you can't copyright your face, but you can copyright data of your face.
Right.
So you scan yourself, and then copyright the scan that you have.
Yep.
So
And same for like voice actors. Like, this is my voice. I'm going to record. I'm going to create the file to replicate my voice, and then you license that. And here's all the voices I do.
Caesar, you mentioned Robin Wright in a Congress. What is that?
Yeah. Yep, that's right. That's a film by the guy who made a brilliant animated film called Waltz with Bashir.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another half animated, half live action film in which producers come to Robin Wright, the actor, and say, we want to digitally scan you so your image will last forever and ever, and always be able to make movies and always be young and all this stuff. You'll be Princess Bride beautiful for the rest of your life. In movies. It's an extremely weird movie and a little abrasive, but it is exactly about this subject.
Okay, so that's interesting because the Metaphysics guys are working on a movie with Robin Wright and Tom Hanks, and they're doing exactly that.
Yeah, that's
they're
wild.
They're doing a young version of Robin Wright where she can puppeteer herself as a young version of herself based on the stuff, and Tom Hanks is doing the same thing.
Yep.
Huh.
Oh, and a slight tangent. I couldn't sleep last night, so I stayed up and watched The Irishman again.
Why would you do that? Well, that's a good choice to go to sleep. Okay, I get it.
Well, that's the thing is, it was really interesting. I liked it when I first saw it quite a bit. But if you can go back to the show, but like I liked it way more the second time. I hadn't seen it pretty much since it came out.
Why?
And like I don't know, it just came off as more coherent and thoughtful, and like the whole thing was a lot tighter. I'm not sure why. But the one thing that I really got stuck on, I didn't see how they did the aging trick, right, until way later, right? I didn't see the making of, right? And now the aging trick doesn't work at all, like literally at all.
It's
like,
terrible.
It's terrible. Like they look like they're just wearing shitty makeup. Like that's pretty much it. And it's consistent all the way through the movie. But what's really weird to me is like seeing how they did it. Like these are total CG face replacements based off this. Like, and I was like, I'm looking at it going like,
why?
Well, yeah, this is it. First of all, without thinking about what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right. The CG is flawless. I was like, this doesn't look like CG face replacement. This looks like an actual actor's face with shitty makeup on it.
Yes.
Like it looks absolutely photoreal. Like, you would see the new Indiana Jones movie, you're like, sometimes it's cartoony,
okay,
whatever.
But isn't this is the problem? Like, do you remember, Daniel, when I was working on Maleficent and they were like, over-engineered the shit out of these pixies?
Yes,
exactly. I mean, they were working on these pixies for years with freaking tear ducts and all this other crap in there. Unbelievable. And they're fucking tiny little things on the screen and no one gives a shit.
I was just like, this is like watching this movie and I was so conscious of like, this might be some of the very best CG and compositing I have ever seen.
But it's not, because it missed the point.
Well, it's absolutely seamless. Like all of the technical work is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, but it missed the point.
But the artistry of it fails.
Oh,
because
100%.
Like what it is shitty. Like,
right.
It's
but
just
that's
like,
also, I hate to bag on ILM, but that's also the ILM way. They love to over-engineer things to the extreme. They had
Most
200
2D used to do that
too, of course. But ILM really does it because they can upsell the shit out of it.
Right.
But like they had like 200 artists working on de-aging Harrison Ford for the movie that flopped like a disaster, right?
Yes.
It did flop, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Did you guys see it?
It's a good movie. I like that movie a lot. Like the new Indiana Jones movie was a pretty good movie.
I think it shows no one cares. Nobody gives a shit. Cares. Anymore.
Which is weird because that's also what the movie's about.
Right.
But in any case, if you see it on video, it's not a bad movie. It's pretty good. But like the opening 15 minutes or whatever is all CG Harrison Ford. It passes. It's just like, yeah, I guess that kind of, it works well enough. It's fine. They do some better stuff later on when you start middle-aged, where you're like, right, fine. But then when you watch The fucking Irishman, man, that should be the gold standard, the technical gold standard for how to map a CG face into a film.
You know where they did a really good job of that? They did a
Mm-hmm.
really amazing job is on the last Terminator film.
Oh yeah, Jesus, that's great stuff. Yeah,
That one scene where they have Arnold and the kid, like
that's
at the
pretty
beach.
stunning. Yeah, that's pretty great.
It's flawless.
It's great. Great work. Great work.
Yeah.
Who did that?
It's Barba and
ILM.
his team. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sort of shocking.
It was Eric
distractingly
Barba.
good.
Eric
Yeah.
Barba was part of that thing.
Yeah,
So you
that was
know
Barba.
how obsessive he gets about that kind of
He,
stuff.
he did a bang up. Him and his crew did a bang up job, dude.
Yeah.
That was like it did to the point where it was distracting. You're like, this looks completely real. That looks like a young Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
you can't pay attention to what's happening because it looks so real.
Yeah.
But
All right, a
but
couple things I want to go over still on Oppenheimer. Again, I don't know if we're necessarily going to talk specifically about the film, but I want to talk about the acting, not about the technique and the marketing and stuff, which is stuff that distracted us, and the story and everything else. There's a bunch of really great things, I think, in it. The acting was so good,
it's terrific across the board from everywhere. It's just great.
really good.
Yeah, just great. Robert
There
Downey
was-
Jr. is like
It's
mwah.
great.
Robert Downey Jr. was fantastic. What's his name? Softy.
Oh yeah, Strauss.
No, not Strauss.
Robert Downey Jr. He's
No,
Strauss.
Teller. Teller was one of the Softy brothers.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, that was Benny Safdie. I'm
Benny
sorry.
Softy.
Was that really?
Yeah.
He's the huge
Oh my
eyebrows. Yeah,
God.
Yeah.
so good.
I have a
fucking love
story
those
about
guys.
him, by the way.
Hit it.
Holy moly, he's fantastic. I
Yeah,
love
he's
Casey
great.
Affleck. I love
the-
though the English girl that played his girlfriend on the side.
Oh yeah. She's great.
He was Hungarian,
Mhm.
the real person who was Edward
Who he's
Teller.
playing? Yep.
And he was my grandfather's classmate
No shit. Wow.
in Hungary.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
He said he was very good at math and he used to piss my grandfather off.
Man, oh man. Yeah, that's a real. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, and it's Benny Safdie is a fucking fantastic actor.
He's so good.
He's also a great director, but he's like,
Yeah.
it's really shocking.
Yeah, because you compare him to the role he played in A Good Time.
A good time, which like I didn't know who he was, and I was like, "Oh, it's interesting. They got someone who is like got real mental challenges to
No.
be in this." No, he's an
Yeah.
actor. He's just an actor. And
See,
he's great.
you see,
he's
you
also
can go,
directing a movie.
you can go full retard. You can't.
It
go-
was the dude is so fucking good, man. He's just and like it's so he plays everything with so much empathy and so much like you just
Yeah.
be like even when he's playing someone who like really fucks someone over, you're still like, I guess I see it. Like
Yeah.
he's just a terrific human performer.
I did think there was a lot of overacting in some ways in the movie.
By what's his name? The general,
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Just
Actually, Matt Damon was okay. I thought there was some big momentous things that were being said, and it wasn't subtle. Now, it's hard because you can tell, well, first of all, the minute you introduce Kenneth Branagh in it, which is ironic, he was one of the most underacting, but Kenneth Branagh always overacts to me.
I love Branagh, and he is like one of the great, I'm not going to say bad actors, but scenery chewers.
Right.
Him and Gary Oldman, who's also in this movie.
Yes, I didn't realize it was Gary Oldman.
And just like
Who was
nobody
Gary
can
Oldman?
fucking
Truman.
He's Truman. He's Truman. He's terrific. Like, but like nobody can overact, and
He
I mean
was
this as a
so-
compliment. Nobody
didn't
can
even know it
overact like
was
those
him.
guys.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was. I was like,
Yeah.
I know that those eyes. He's so good because he can
Like,
play. He plays Churchill and Truman. Fuck that guy.
It's like there's a particular technique. Because I love Oldman. I love we were just talking about what's his name?
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. And the only person that's actually better at this is Daniel Day-Lewis. And he only and he only goes that far twice. But these guys just do it all the time.
Now they do. Now I don't know if they actually were overacting or the fact that they freaking put Chris Nolan does the Nolan music on top of everything. That's just
good music,
over
for sure.
dramatizes and like. It was a little more balanced. I could actually hear what the hell they were saying
Right. Well, I mean, this is, as Eric brought up earlier, that it's an opera. It's an opera.
It is an opera. That's
so that's basically it. Like everything is hyper stylized, completely overblown, high
the
acting.
over emotional acting is what I mean by it. It was that was the part that was.
It's extremely consistent in its energy.
Right.
Like, and I think that like any of these performances might not work in a more subtle film, but they're all balanced against each other very, very well. And so he ends up pulling off some really pretty stupendous, bizarre things because the feeling of the movie is so heightened all the time and so consistently heightened that it just creates a different experience, a different world.
Right.
But yeah, I to lay my cards on the table, I thought it was a terrific movie. I was just like, this is, I need to see it a few more times to see
so do I,
how it comes together. But just as a ride, I was like, fuck, that was extremely exciting. Like just like super intense, great, like pointed, like a really focused point that it's coming to. Like everyone is just beautifully done.
Listen, there's a little bit too much like, when a movie starts to do look what I can do, then it's just not a little bit annoying, right? Like, I'll just put it this way.
Yeah, mileage may vary. Let's put it that way.
Because look what I can do. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to make, 1/3 of the film black and white because it's from the perspective of this person's story. And then I want you to hear it from the other person, from the other side, and I make that color and just confusing, right? Like,
yeah,
it's it. Yeah.
That didn't bother me as much as,
but people had to explain it to you why he did that. And it's like, this brilliance of Chris Nolan. Again, I'm tired of that crap. Just give me a good film.
This is something this is something interesting.
But he layered all this pretentiousness up of it.
Yeah, like because you bring this up with Nolan a lot, and I totally hear where you're coming from. Like, but I want to dig into it a bit. Is like because you'll say like he makes dumb people feel smart, right?
Right.
And I'm just like, and my question is that a problem with the movie though? Like
no, it's a problem with me.
It's just an external thing, right? It's like, is that something generated by the movie, or is it something that's just the cult of Nolan around it makes it sort of a pain in the ass, or Nolan makes it a pain in the ass?
Yes, I think it's a cult of Nolan, right? Because listen, like I said, was this a good film? Yes, it was a good film, right? Did it need to have black and white and color? Maybe, but it could have been a little more clear about it. And not, does he need to bash visual effects? No, definitely not.
Like
does he need to, absolutely tell him like how Nolan intended it? Like make that a marketing message is part of the 70mm lure.
Sure.
He
maybe gets in his own way. He gets in his own way.
Right. So this to me, while people see that as a feature of the film, I see it as a distraction from the film, which was an important film. Right.
Well, and I think that because I like the black and white and I like switching between them.
I think it's pretty.
This is the thing is that like I think that where it interferes with the enjoyment of the movie, right? Isn't in the movie. It is the fact that like you're doing something that if I thought you are if the experience of talking about Nolan films with Nolan fans was nice, then I would be supportive of these choices. But because it's really fucking irritating, that irritation comes into the experience of watching the movie and it tips it in a negative way when he's making big choices. Like, because
it ruins the film, right? I hear what you're saying. Like Caesar is saying, is like Nolan tends to crawl up his own ass, and I'm worried that there's not enough room up there for the both of us.
That's a good line. That's good. I like that. Yeah, I mean, like, because I think that like it's one of these things that's very difficult to be objective about, and like it's almost like with movies like this from people like him, like I almost wish these movies were made like 100 years ago, so I didn't have any particular feelings around the experience.
Right.
And so like it gets into like, I understand why people can't watch Woody Allen movies, or like, people don't want to watch, whatever. We always bring it up, Chinatown or any of that stuff. Like there's something irritating on the outside that interferes with the experience for you. And I totally understand that because as much as I talk against it, I am still susceptible to it because like, it's something that is in my zone of work and it can be annoying. Right. And so I get that little buzzing fly effect, and I totally know where you come from on that. I don't necessarily feel it about this particular movie, but I know what you're saying. And it's like, I think, and when you talk about it with people, it's hard not to be like, the conversation gets arch very quickly because people either hate him or love him and they have really strong feelings about it and all this stuff. And so they can't just sort of take a middle of the road thing of like, oh, it's kind of interesting. It works here. It doesn't work here. That kind of stuff. You never hear that. You're just like, no, it's fucking genius. And if you don't think so, you're an idiot. And you're just like,
yeah,
all right, that's enough of that.
All those are not worth getting
and
into.
those guys were sitting behind me in the theater.
No, it's
Really?
a drag.
Yeah. Just before we started talking about just being obnoxious about the film industry, and they're like, bashing visual effects, and just like, it was just, I could hear them. They were right behind me.
Yeah,
and so I was like, oh, here we go. I'm in a theater with those assholes.
Right.
So that kind of ruins the theater for me.
I totally get it, dude. I totally get it.
You know what I mean?
Totally get it. Like, I mean, it's like, whether or not I disagree or agree on a particular point, I understand exactly what is the motivating flavor there. Yeah.
But I want to give this credit where credit is due. And this film is important. And Chris Nolan, yes, he tends to get in his own way sometimes, but he still pulled off a great movie and an important movie that everyone should see because it's a story that we need to understand, right? Yep. And there's several parts of the story that need to, and then
there's no point to describing the story. It's too. Like,
no, I'm not going to describe the story. He created the bomb, but it is, and it's a non. Of course, because it's again Nolan. He doesn't do it in a very non-linear way, right? Which is also fine. I like non-linear stories, but there's an important part there that to realize is like, this isn't just about the person or about the atomic bomb. It's about what fears in the United States, right? Because there's several fears they had, and the fear wasn't necessarily of the bomb. They feared Nazis, then the Russians, and basically it was a Red Scare, right?
Yeah.
This movie is really about finding communists.
Yeah. It's like,
this movie is all about communists.
Exactly.
And I think that was fascinating and great. That's because that's actually what.
Well, that's
happened.
the fear. Like, goes back to Barbie. Don't go out into that real world.
Yeah, I was actually going to segue that to you, Eric.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just fear. It's how they want us built, right?
And I want to quote. I don't know who it was in our chat, and it might have been Caesar who called it the pink scare, which is brilliant.
That was extremely funny,
right? When you talk
people
about
panic, like when you have like, what's his name, Ben Shapiro burning Barbies and talking about how it's hurting manhood and blah blah blah.
Right.
Really?
Yes. That's going on right now. And so that's the pink scare. Lily found it hilarious. So she's working on writing a short for us. Where we're going to do a PSA about the pink scare, and she's taking a script from the 50s about how to detect a communist, and she's gonna try to turn it into something that could work for us. So I told her, we'll do it. If you want to write the script, we'll do it. We'll act it out.
Absolutely.
She wants to say how to spot a feminist. I think she's what she's going to try to do.
How to spot a feminist. I can hear the voice right now. How to spot a feminist. That's right.
We can totally do this. And so what we'll do is we'll figure it out. It'll be good. But yeah, so I'm glad that we're doing. She just loves that. She loves the fact that it pisses so many people off.
No, yeah, like I mean, like I'm as much of a fucking Molotov thrower as anybody when it comes to film. So I think that like my favorite thing about Barbie is that it is built to make people mad, and I appreciate that because I think it actually that kind of stuff like is heated and ridiculous as some of the fights get. There's actually a lot more interesting discussion going on, like about the movie, what it means, how to interpret it, all this kind of stuff about Barbie, and it's like stuff that you like. That's actually good to talk about. Like, don't pay attention to the fucking screaming idiots. Like, that's useless. However,
it's good. I love the screaming idiots.
The screaming idiots are funny that they're idiots. Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more sort of interesting actual, film analysis and actual talk going on because,
hey man,
and drops a big Molotov.
That QAnon film is made $125 million.
I'm very interested to see that because I want to compare. I mean, like it's going to be nonsense, obviously.
The main actor is a huge QAnon guy.
Caviezel is. It's too bad because he's a wonderful actor.
It's about child.
It's the fucking QAnon fantasy movie. It's like where they think you buy kids on Amazon.
They think the Democrats are stealing children and taking their
it's
hormones, then using it as a drug
Yeah, it's Pizzagate the movie.
It's Pizzagate the movie.
Wait a minute. I thought it was about just like people abducting kids for prostitution.
Yes, that's Pizzagate.
Right, which is Pizzagate. And so like because like the thing is, I mean, these things, like this stuff is actually quite real. There is human trafficking. It's very much a problem in the world. These are real things, absolutely. And a lot of like the great bulk of these people that are trafficked are children. So like meaning like especially like 16 through 18. And so all that's true. The angle that the QAnon people take on it is that this is actually a conspiracy run by the Democrats to drink child blood. And it's happening under pizza places, or you can buy it off of these websites. So like you can order from you can order a special piece of furniture that costs $30,000 and it's actually a kid. Like that's what they think. Not true. But that's the drama they've involved themselves in. So that's
crazy.
Like, what I would like to know whether or not this movie actually engages directly with that.
No,
but they're certainly playing off of
that. They're vampires.
Yeah, the Democrats are literal vampires.
Right.
So it's a bit fringy. But yeah,
I'm going to mute myself because there's a lot of stuff going on behind me.
That's cool. But yeah, like it is. Caesar. Yeah, it's a good point. The blood libel connection. If for all you fans of ridiculous anti-Semitism, like this kind of nonsense is born out of echo chambers, obviously, and you see like with this movie being such a hit and Barbie being such a hit simultaneously, all the people that went to go see one are angry about the other, right? And so when you look at like, there's a map. This was put up on Fox News, so take it with a grain of salt. But there was a map as to what was trending Google-wise across the United States, whether it was Barbie or Oppenheimer, right? And what was hilarious was all the Barbie states were bright pink and all the Oppenheimer states were blue. Guess which states were bright pink, where Barbie was trending the highest? It was like Texas, Florida, Alabama, because they are so fucking pissed off. This is the culture warriors lit up and angry and talking about it. And I'm wondering why Barbie worked in that way and this other thing didn't have that effect on us, like the QAnon movie. Like nobody really knows the QAnon movie is out unless you're a super conservative. And nobody in popular culture is really mad about it, even though they are very, very excited about it.
Well, hold on. I know about it because I get Deadline sent to me every day, and it's covering it a lot because it's made a lot of money.
Yeah, made a ton of money. But it's like
there's stories, articles that people said that the movie theater people are trying to put special tabs of powder in people's drinks that are going to that movie.
What?
Yes.
What?
There's articles going out that there's these. They're forcing employees to put powder in drinks to anyone going to see that Freedom movie, whatever it is.
To do what?
To microchips in their bloodstream.
Oh, it's the powdered microchip.
Yeah.
That
nice.
happens. Yeah. By the way, speaking of experience, I went to the theaters to watch this, and I like to get crap to eat there. I know it's bad for you, and I always like a Coke slushy, and I know, but it's the theater. And they didn't have Coke. So I said, I'll get the cherry. It was so god awful. I got up in the middle of Oppenheimer and I was like, I went back to the guy and I said, this is literally, it's like, tastes like methadone, cherry flavor methadone or something. Right. This is the worst fucking thing in the world. So
God, it's lean.
Just give me a Coke. He's like, well, you didn't drink a lot. I say, of course. Why don't you try it? It's horrible. And I was like, who drinks this shit? I just wanted a Coke.
What was it? Did you
it's a cherry
Coke.
Cherry Coke. Yeah.
I love a good cherry Coke. Yeah.
Well, they were out of Coke. And when I first came in and they gave me, just how about cherry? So I got cherry and in the middle of the movie, I was like, fuck this. And and they exchanged it. They were very nice. They gave it worse.
Well, it cost them 3 cents.
Yeah,
they charge you $20, but it costs them 3 cents.
By the way, that's really it. The food is, if you just get a little something, it's crazy the pricing.
Right.
It's too bad.
I think that I think that it's interesting that you have theaters showing these radically opposed audience movies. like I'm surprised this hasn't been a flashpoint for more ridiculousness.
But just so you also know, that's why I bring my own grill to the movie theaters.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to pay those prices.
That's an old Stephen Wright joke.
Is it really?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
He's like, I got kicked out of the theater for bringing in my own food, and I said, well, the prices at the concession stands are ridiculous, and besides, I haven't had a barbecue in a long time.
I haven't had barbecue in a long time.
That's pretty good.
God bless.
But
yeah, just to sum up what I was saying is that like you can see how lopsided the energy of the culture war is.
Oh, yeah.
Because like most people on the left don't really give a shit, and most people on the right really, really, really give a shit. Like they are revved up. Barbie.
Well, they're revved up for two reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think Barbie is evil, and they think Hollywood is suppressing the other movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's making a fucking $1 billion. It's not suppressing anything. It's making a shitload of money. Everyone be happy. It's fine. Go watch your movie.
Go watch your QAnon film.
Doesn't actually matter. Go enjoy yourself. It's fine.
Yeah, the QAnon or whatever it is, the Soldiers of Freedom or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know what they made it for, but it's like 100-something million. I can only imagine they didn't make it for 100 million. So they're probably making some cash.
They're making a buttload of money on that thing. It's like good for them. It doesn't look like your regular run of the mill, super Christian, low budget faith drama. It's not like God's Not Dead or something. It looks like they spent some money on it. It looks like a movie. And like I watch plenty of shitty Steven Seagal movies, so I can't get mad over another shitty movie. It's just a hit movie. Like nobody cares, dude. It's not real.
All right.
It's just not a real.
I'm going to look that up. Right. What is the name of that film?
Sounds of Freedom or something?
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. I want to see.
I think that's what it's called.
Film.
And the thing is, like, maybe it's a good movie in terms of movie. Like, I would be perfectly happy for a good movie. It's maybe stupid, maybe not based in reality.
It was
but
made by Angel Studios for $14.5 million.
Oh my God, they are cleaning up.
That's what I was just saying. It was like it's 140 right now.
I feel bad because it's too bad that Caviezel.
That's a good return, guys. The
main actor. It's too bad that he went nuts because he's a really good actor. He's a very talented actor.
What's his name?
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
I knew where you're going. Yeah, I know.
Randy Quaid was so good in Five Easy Pieces. Not Five Easy Pieces. In
Vacation.
The Last Detail.
Last Detail, man.
Last Detail and Vacation.
Vacation.
He was good.
Terrific.
But he did lose his mind.
Shitter's full. He is a comic genius.
All right.
Tremendous.
So here's one thing I will say. Oppenheimer is not a hard film to make. Like the source material is good, and there's no way you can.
Let me throw this at you. It's an easy. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. Go ahead.
And so I'm not necessarily saying that someone can't make it a crappy movie, but you put a good director in front of good source material.
Oh, it's a good idea.
And it's not it's going to be hard for Nolan to fail on that. We'll just put it that way, right?
Sure. It's an easy movie to make very boring.
Barbie is a way more challenging film to make.
Yes.
Because she's got to make it about Barbie. She's got to make it work for all ages.
Yeah.
And she's got to deal with Mattel. And I was thinking driving home, I was like, it's the smartest business move. It's a rebranding of the product. And they just had a great director do it. They rebranded their product because sales were slumpy.
Completely agree.
People don't think that. So they got a great director and her husband, Noah Baumbach, to put this together. They got a shit ton of money, and they're probably making a shit ton. But it's a corporate rebrand. That's all it is.
Oh, I have to address this immediately. Thank you, Caesar, for noticing the Holy Mountain reference. I was going to bring it up. I thought I was nuts. You confirmed it for me. Okay, let's get back to action. My God, thank you. That was the best thing. Best thing in the movie.
They also talk about Lou Reed.
Yes, it's so fucking good.
Did you catch that?
Best moment of the movie.
Which Lou Reed part did they talk about?
They were talking about, this is like typical Lou Reed, 70. They did some, Ryan Gosling or some guy next to him mentioned Lou Reed when they were at the Kendom, when the guys took over the homes.
Right.
And
What was it called? A casa, something crazy casa.
The Mojo Dojo Casa.
Mojo Dojo Casa.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Right.
I was like, Lou Reed, they talked about.
Yes, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. So, I would like to throw out that I have a multi-tiered review of this movie.
Yes.
And so I guess, can I quickly step through this just so you can get context for where I'm going?
Hold on. I want to first note that you, under the Martini Giant Twitter, you said Martini Giant feels this way about this movie, which I thought was not called for.
Okay, wait a minute. Did I say Martini Giant feels this
Yes.
way? Did
Martini
I say
Giant's
I thought
review
it was
of this film.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's fair. I should have said I instead of Martini Giant.
Yes.
But
or you could say Dan from
true.
Martini Giant.
Yeah, no, like I don't mean to give the impression. Obviously, I have a minority report on this film, but I don't mean to get in the way of people's feelings on this movie at all.
No. And I have completely respect the fact that you have some issues with this film, which is totally normal. And you should have issues. It is a challenging film to make.
I completely agree. And so so apologies to everybody who took that as a Martini Giant statement when it is actually just me. That was just a mistake, and I didn't mean to speak for anybody else. That being said, now I'm going to speak for myself.
Yes. Go ahead.
First of all, I am a huge fan of Greta Gerwig. I think I own all of her films. And I think she's one of the best directors going. Though I have critical things to say about this movie, I do not hold any of these things against her, and I look forward to her work. And I think that she took on something that's amazingly challenging, and did a pretty good job at an uphill battle. And I have feelings about it, but it's absolutely no critique to her or people's enjoyment of the movie, which, like, right on. What my first tier review is: everything you're about to hear, in my opinion, is totally wrong. Go see this movie. It's a blast. Everyone loves it, and everyone's right to love it. Like that's my first tier review of Barbie. I think it's like it's a great crowd movie. Everyone.
When you say everybody who hears this, and I'm totally wrong, right? When you say that, isn't that just basically a way of saying, I don't give a shit what you think, this is how I feel? By admitting that it's
like,
totally wrong because you don't want conflict, because there's nothing you can do to persuade me.
No, all I can say is that in the details, people are going to take from this, don't see this movie for me. That is the opposite of how I actually feel. So when you hear me critique it, you're going to be like, oh, well, Dan has terrible taste in movies. I saw Barbie and loved it. I'm telling you, go see it because you're going to love it. It's actually quite great. All of my problems are very deep-seated issues I have that relate to Return of the Jedi, and I'm heavily triggered by that. So it took me a while to sort of analyze what was going wrong with me, and why I was more and more irritated by the movie as it went along. It is because, if anyone who's listened to this podcast knows, I fucking hate Return of the Jedi from the bottom of my toes. Like, it is the worst, most damaging film.
That's the one, the goofy forest creatures.
Yes, it is the worst movie I have ever seen in my life.
It is, as they say, the death of hope. Yes.
It is the death of hope. That's not to say it's the worst made film. I've seen plenty of movies that are worse made. It is just simply the most disappointing film. And it told me a lesson about movie making that Greta Gerwig had to face in this movie, and I applaud that she tried to take it on. It's very, very difficult to do. So my first tier is that this movie has overwhelming general positive experience, great design, and especially Ryan Gosling is fucking
so
hilarious in this movie.
I love the Sly Stallone jacket, dude. It was so great.
Like, I hope he wins Best Supporting for this thing. He is so fucking funny, and he almost pulls the movie from the jaws of death just alone for me. That, and also the first act.
When they went to him, I was a little like, what killed it for me was Will Ferrell. It's like, for me,
this is my actual legit problem with the movie. But go ahead.
Will Ferrell.
You think Will Ferrell's an Ewok?
Will Ferrell is the Ewok of the movie. Yes, thank you. Perfect. Yes, Will Ferrell and the marketing team are the Ewok of the movie.
It's so fucking stupid. And I was like, we don't need to be here if we didn't need to meet the boardroom and the way they're running through the place. And I'm tired of Will Ferrell Not that he's not talented. It's just
there's
you can
plenty of great
tell
Will Ferrell stuff. I'm not
it's just,
against him.
At this stage, he's not funny. Like money comes out of his pores. He's really rich. He has probably a great place in the Palisades, and it's like enjoy it. But you're not funny anymore.
But doesn't it feel like they made Will Ferrell the guy?
Well, he was producing it.
Then it's one way of making Mattel the bad guys, but also it's Will Ferrell.
This is
okay. You didn't need actually to see that. You didn't need that whole thing where the hijinks and then they're going on the bike. It was
the
like
entire middle act of this movie is a giant.
Sucks. So but hold on a second. That was my point. Once we got to Ken. Ryan Gosling, I love this film. I couldn't stop crying, laughing, and he was so good. And so there was this great part with Margot Robbie,
who's also great, tremendous.
Yes, and then here and in the middle, I was like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. I was hating every boardroom moment. It just I didn't buy it. It was a crappy movie pasted in between.
It would have been better with Colin Farrell.
Oh God! Can you imagine if he was doing his fucking horrible bosses shtick? Now we're talking. So like, I'll try and sum it up quickly. The tier 2 review is that the first act of this movie is fucking terrific. The middle act of this movie is extremely dull and lots of like mediocre Will Ferrell, like lots of it. The production design disappears because you're in the real world and it's shot like a TV show now.
Yeah,
and so
Culver
like,
City, all of this crap. Yep.
It has a very, very unfocused storyline with the mother and the daughter and their relationship to Barbie and this like the connection to the like none of it works literally at all, and I was very bored. So that's a problem just because it's not very good. So that's where it's at. All of this is because of Mattel. Like that's hiding at the back end of my critique. Right?
Yeah, and then there's a challenge that I think she tried to overcome in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Right. So I think that's the thing, right? So she had to find a way around it, and it was like
she does her goddamn best to make it work.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because
100%.
Think about it. I mean,
it's an ad.
This is another movie about the toy.
It's a fucking ad. It's a 2-hour rebrand.
And that's exactly what it is.
I got so annoyed with it by the end. I was pulling my hair out because that's the problem, is that where this movie will land for you isn't like, are you a feminist or a sexist? It's whether or not you start feeling the icy grip of death of capitalism controlling a great artist. And that's where I got
they
choked.
cashed out.
I don't think so.
Noah Baumbach's name was all over the place. Those guys made cash.
It did succeed in a lot of ways to a lot.
Absolutely.
It created, there was a lot of messages that it put out there that were very compelling. And listen, taking someone and hitting them overhead with the patriarchy problem is good. And I don't care how many times they do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, I'll get into the weeds in this. Like, I agree with like in the completely blurred out of focus intent of the movie. I 100% support everything that the movie is saying, obviously. Like obviously. I think that when I say Return of the Jedi problem that I'm referring to, right, is the reason why Return of the Jedi is bad is because it's about selling dolls, right?
Yes.
And well, like the reason it fails to be a story because they need to sell dolls, and specifically Luke Skywalker dolls. And so like they had an idea for a story in which Luke is struggling even harsher than he did in the previous movie. It's very dramatic and all that, but he spends most of the movie like, whoa, oh, sad, oh, I don't know what to do, like all this stuff. That's not a doll you can sell. Like The Empire Strikes Back Luke didn't sell very well because he's a whiny fucking baby in that movie. And even though it's the best movie, the dolls don't sell, right? So for the next movie, they're like, what if we made him a super badass who's fixed all his problems in the beginning? And then he's just a badass through the entire film, and nothing happens because he has no challenges to overcome actually. And then we have to come up with stuff to have happen. And when you do this with Barbie, like you can't change Barbie as a character, and she begins the movie and ends the movie more or less in the same place. And the ending of the movie is basically she starts the adventure to change herself, which should have been what the movie is, but we don't see it. Like she goes to the real world, takes the first step. Congratulations. But
Whatever.
she doesn't
Rhea Perlman
really
tries to tell her what you forgot.
Yeah, but who the fuck is
I actually
Rhea Perlman
feel,
is part of the rebranding. I care about Barbie.
That was the rebrand to get to zero.
Yes, exactly.
Like let's start to get back
the
to our
problem
original
they face
vision.
is that they
That's
make
what it
sexist
was.
toys,
But they didn't
and they need to
to
reorient the audience to like these toys. That's the goal. And
Well,
so what
Eric,
happens?
let Eric talk. Let Eric talk. You've been saying a lot. Go ahead.
It would have been a better film, even though it was a blatant. For me, the offensive thing was it was a total corporate rebrand of the product, and it's genius. And they made a ton of money.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, if they had just kept Rhea Perlman as the creator and had only the guy who answered the phone, like, there's a problem, and cut out the boardroom, you could have in some way.
It would have helped massively.
Yeah,
I agree.
because that dynamic, when she came back and held her hand, that was a great moment. And it was almost like all that jazz kind of scenario at the end. It was total soundstage. Yeah, right. I loved it. Great. And all the color.
If the movie had ended when it faded, they would never do this.
Or what was the Heaven movie with Warren Beatty?
Which one? Heaven Can Wait. Yeah, it's like
Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that kind of moment. And I was like, why didn't they what's with this comic shit crap with Will Ferrell?
Yeah,
and
it's a waste of time.
In the middle. And it looked like a car commercial.
So like what
Forgot
they
to change the Barbie background. We're back on Barbie background.
Oh, there. So like the problem that they run into is because they need an emotional story, some story of change to have happen.
You can see that.
This is what I'm saying. It's like what they do is in Return of the Jedi, they give that story of change to Darth Vader, which is a giant mistake. Ends in a good scene, but it's like not the movie I was watching. And in this, they give it to Ken. Like Ken is the one who transforms in the movie, which is Ryan Gosling is great. But why the fuck is this movie about Ken?
Yeah.
Like I'm not watching the Ken
movie.
Well,
hold on. I think Ken. That's a little bit the point. Ken is the one that needs to change.
Ken is the problem of the movie. But like Ken. So this is okay. This gets into the weeds in terms of screenwriting. Ken, up until the moment when Barbie says, like, as soon as Barbie's like, you just have to learn to be your own self. I was like, he was doing everything that he was himself. Like he doesn't like. I don't know what you're talking about. Like he just needs to be someone apart from you. Well, he was that, and you didn't like it, so you made him change back, and that's his story. Like I don't know what happened for him. Like meanwhile, Barbie is the same because she has to be the same. So this is like it changes the meaning of what the Kens are, because like the Kens in the beginning of the movie and why they're so funny is because they're representative of what a pain in the ass it can be to deal with guys. Like no. Wait, I'm not saying this is what the movie thinks of all men.
I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying that either.
Well, let me finish. Let me finish my statement. Okay. It's like this. If this movie were Get Out, like I am not mad that every single white person in Get Out is a villain. It should be that way.
Sure.
Like that's the fucking point of the movie.
Right.
Like this movie is against the patriarchy. Like, first of all, they don't show anything particularly evil patriarchal in the real world. Like they show, hey, there's a female doctor, and here's a woman who has a good marriage with a nice guy, and all this kind of. So they don't do anything in the real world to really heighten their story at all. But like in terms of the Kens, like these are the white people from Get Out. The Kens are that in this as to.
Strong disagree.
Well, they are toxic masculinity. They can be well-meaning and they can all change into goodness. That's fine. But they are, in fact, only a symbol. They're not a character. Once you make Ken into a character, but not Barbie, then you're changing what that symbol is. But saying
she was a character.
Yeah, I just didn't buy it, man. I just didn't buy
so
that.
Let me just, I don't know if you ever played Barbie when you were a kid?
I believe I sure absolutely did.
Okay. So Ken was a prop in all Barbie stories.
Right.
That girls would play, right?
Sure.
And that was illustrated here. That was illustrated that he doesn't do anything. He's just a prop and he's a piece of furniture, right? And that she treats him like that. In that way, right? And that was the point that I think was being made. It's like, this is how girls would play with Barbies. And that's fine. honestly.
Ken brings home patriarchy, right, and wrecks the place.
But Ken doesn't really even realize that patriarchy existed, and then brings it home, and he realizes he brings it home. It becomes toxic. He realizes it's toxic, but really, what he really realizes is that he's just trying to be his own person, which he can't be because he's identified with Barbie, right? And it just takes effort away. And so it plays back onto her in some ways, and she starts to pay attention to him in something more than furniture. Like, she starts to actually pay attention to what men are and where men have problems, and starts to correct and helps them correct that journey together.
What were they doing that was actually bad?
What were they doing? They weren't necessarily doing anything. Well, they took their houses away.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because the Barbies own the houses in the first place, and the Kens just lived on the beach. Like, right, that's right. The way that they were. Like,
they weren't.
Like, this is why I'm saying. Like,
well,
it gets so muddy and hard to interpret.
They do this thing where they basically undermine women, right? When they're always like, "Now I'm going to sing to you, and you're going to think I'm genius, right? I'm going to do this, and so it's and there's a lot of mansplaining, right? So there's a lot of mansplaining problems going on.
Okay, I have a question though. So, why are the Barbies, like, why are they so weak as to be hypnotized by this? I thought they were smart, but somehow men have a magic superpower that can disarm women. Is that true?
I don't think that was the case.
That's literally what they do in the movie. That's literally what they do.
But I mean, that's where
that's our perception of what it was.
That's where the men were. The men were just like. The beginning of the story, the men were exactly the same ways that the Barbie were in reverse, right? Everything was flipped. Right, so that was the whole point.
Right.
So when we end up resisted it, were the weird Barbies.
Right. And so when we end up in the end of the movie, the matriarchy is restored. The Kens are back in their place, and everything's fine again. And I'm like, that's where we started. We didn't change anything. Like, they started doing stuff we didn't like. They took over our houses. We kicked them out, and now everything's back to Barbie land. I'm like, that's not a story. And it's weirdly, like, it's not a very positive statement about women. Like we're easily manipulated, but we just want to control everything. I was like, this is just the problem of the patriarchy in reverse. Like, you've done exactly, and not only that, they say it's physically tied, like it's a mirror world, right? And so by reestablishing the matriarchy at the end of the movie, you're reinforcing the patriarchy of the real world. Like, the system, like, the fucking story doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think what was important was also there's a side story going on. This is the story between the daughter and the mother as well, right? And the mother's statements, I think, were very telling in terms of the matriarchy, that she's realization that she doesn't have to be a strong feminist woman. She just can be a woman.
She should just be a person. Yeah.
She should just be a person.
Yeah,
right?
I totally agree.
And
Absolutely.
she can have weird thoughts and do this, right?
This is when the movie is the most focused. Like, that scene with her is very good.
Yes.
And I wish that, like, here's my problem is that what comes to pass for her, for America Ferrara, like, needs to be reflected in Barbie's journey, but it isn't. So Barbie's meaning and the Barbie land meaning gets very, very weird.
It switches over to America Ferrara.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you need to this needs to come together, and it doesn't really come together because I strongly feel like Mattel is like, it's not like we're going to change fucking Barbie land. Like, it needs
they didn't
to be
want
this
it
way.
too much. That's why she helped Ken by being honest, and she helped America Ferrara by realizing, but she didn't really change in a way.
Right. Yeah, that's my.
And
this
Rhea
is my
Perlman reconfirms that it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, you're still. Because she said, I don't know what I want to be or what I don't know what, and she's like, it's okay.
Yeah,
you're Barbie.
Yeah, I'm just like, it just gets so, like, I can feel Greta Gerwig has things that she wants
Barbie
to say.
Was like, I feel like just being a dirty whore. That whole scene for me was like, that's what she wants to be.
Like, the movie doesn't need to be. Like, it's just like one of my favorite movies of the 90s, right? Is Close, Clueless.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And Clueless does Barbie perfectly.
Yeah, like, okay. I'll say that's
my gold standard.
But Clueless is not there needs to be a Clueless of today. Now here's
I totally agree. Totally.
All right,
agree.
and I think here are my problems I have. We know how we say that there's every movie has to have one or two good speeches. There's like 18 of them.
There's
in
a
this
lot
movie.
there's a lot of big speeches in this. Some of them are good, some of them are not so great. But
some
whatever.
of them are good, some of them not so good. Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys with the
Dirty whore.
with the corporate office,
The corporate stuff. Yeah.
But honestly, I just like whatever. I just let it go.
Right.
I let it go. It didn't distract enough for me, etc. The thing that scares me
It did take
is
away.
that the filmmakers are going to take this movie and they're like, "Great, let's make Matchbox movies." Like you don't
they
understand.
Will believe. You missed the point of what
You missed
what
the
you're
point
trying
of
to
what
do.
you just made.
Yeah. and the thing is, like, I know I sound all feisty. Like, I absolutely believe in what this movie is trying to do. I absolutely believe that Greta Gerwig is the right person to do it.
Right.
And and there's lots of extremely strong things in this movie that are really validating and positive and actually like very hardcore feminist.
Right.
In a way that people should see, just so they're exposed to these ideas.
Yes.
Was one of the Safdie brothers in it
especially
as
younger
well?
audiences. Absolutely.
What was that, Eric?
The Safdie brothers, were they in it?
Was he one of the Kens? But everything I'm saying, like I said, please put this under the banner of this is a positive experience. Please go see it.
I understand, but I think the other important thing for me to see to be part of this experience was again the theatrical experience of this, right?
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Right?
That first act is fucking
No,
outrageous.
I'm just talking about going to the movie theaters and everyone's dressed in pink.
Oh, it's great. Yes, it's a great experience.
So a cultural phenomenon that this is,
great,
right?
Terrific.
And also seeing this with my 17-year-old daughter,
right.
I can't.
From
It's
her perspective.
Terrific.
So she gets to be able to see this and experience this with her old dad.
Yes, magnificent.
Because she wants to make sure her old dad sees this movie with her,
Yes,
right? Because there's
100%.
a message that she wants to make sure people like me see.
Yes,
And
100%.
so the fact that I'm there with her is an important part of that experience.
Yes. In fact, I think that right there is the reason to see this movie. Like, do that exact thing. That's the most powerful thing you can do with this film. Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
And so, like I have all all
And
the
that's
things
specifically why a lot of the people hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's attacking the old man.
Right, exactly. And the thing is that all this shit deserves to be burned to the ground. I think you should throw more Molotov cocktails. I think you should be more forceful, and you should get don't let even Mattel fucking co-op this motherfucker. Like, take control of it and own it.
Right.
Greta Gerwig did the absolute best job she could. And also the real
did
counterpoint.
it was a way harder film to make than Oppenheimer.
Yeah. No, dude, like trying
my
to
God,
negotiate
imagine the
that shit
politics
is
on that.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yes. Because like at every turn, Mattel's like running it against numbers. Like, well, you can't say that because we have to blah, blah, blah. Like, that's all they're doing. That's what this is an
and
ad
she
from
must.
that.
I can imagine how hard those meetings might.
It must have been embarrassing. It must have been insanely embarrassing to even be a part of these the shenanigans I can imagine in those rooms. But like, this is the thing. So like, I am my criticisms of the film are only that what I want is for her to have true freedom to say exactly what she wants to say. And I feel like even if they weren't interfering directly, like when you work for a company like Mattel, like what's going to sell and what's not going to sell, and it's going to get in your mind anyway as an artist. And it ends up with like a movie that like the absolute general thrust of it, totally agree with it. It gets lumpy in the center, and like because of the corporate demands, it has lots of weird mixed messaging. If you think too hard about it, don't think too hard about it.
Don't think
about it. Don't think about it. This is why I say I'm wrong. Like, all these notes are like for script development time. Like, that's some bullshit. You don't listen to me on this, that's totally fine.
Yeah. I think that she did a phenomenal job considering the incredible obstacles and the subject matter.
Yes, absolutely.
The subject. I mean, you're asking one of the biggest feminist filmmakers of all time to make a movie about Barbie.
So this is terrific. And not only that, if you want the real argument against what I'm saying, is go read Caesar's post on our Discord, where he talks about
which one
about dismantling dismantling the engine from within.
Oh yeah.
And the engine, like the dismantling, using the master's tools to dismantle his house is the phrase. And I'm in total agreement with everything that's saying. I just retain my righteous anger about artists. That's all. So yes, please rate it. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And go see the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is sort of a thing that's important that got said. I also, by the way, awesome production design.
It's fucking great looking. Just everything surrounding Gosling is so funny all the time. It's just incredible. The rest of it looks great all the time. It's beautiful. And like the photography is great.
His abs are insane.
It's hysterical. It's hysterically funny. He's hysterically funny. The interactions with the Kens are great. Like it's top notch.
Choreography was great. The dancing and the music.
The dancing and the music was hilarious. Absolutely. I'm Just Ken is a hilarious number.
Oh my God. That's a really...
That battle at the end was genius.
And this is not a harsh critique of the movie. If they were going to make a Ken movie, I wish that they had built it off of I'm Just Ken. Like build out from that and just make the Ken movie as like a support movie to Barbie. Like you could watch on Netflix.
Right.
Because it is so it's so good and it's so weirdly touching. And it's very, very sweet. It's a really great.
He just had so many hilarious lines that were so revealing because he is really dumb.
Yeah, he's a dumbass.
Which is
dumb
great.
stuff, and he's a dumbass like me.
Yeah, just when he's in her house, and she knocks on his door, which is her house, and he's like, "I was just reading." Like he goes to run and get a book, pretend that he's reading.
The Mojo Dojo.
No, the thing when he puts his arm up and his muscles move, he's like.
Yeah, it's so
but the best was the he had that Sly Stallone coat.
Oh
it's
God!
So it's so
good.
Yeah, it was like Staying Alive.
I've already been trying to figure out. Like I want to dress like Ken for Halloween for sure. Like I'm going to go all out. I want the fanny pack that has Ken written in the Metallica font.
Right.
That's what I want. I want that.
Yeah, dude, that's funny as fuck, dude. That was gold. And yeah, like literally, if they were both if she's nominated for Best Actor and he's nominated for Best Supporting, that would be just hilarious in itself. Best Supporting Ken.
Yes. I do want to have another little side history here for us. It's a very interesting one as well. My first, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was working at Gensler a long time ago, and we were doing stuff, and we were designing this building. It was a spec office building, and it was going to be a huge thing, and we're going to do a big animation about it, and decided that we needed to do a big animation to sell this because it was a spec office building means that the developers build it, but they don't have a tenant yet. It's just a spec, and so they're trying to make the building and then get the tenant later, and so they finally got the tenant. But it was based on the animation that I created, and I needed help making this animation to work. And I hired this guy named Eric Schilly to do that building.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So Eric and I worked on this building as 2000 Avenue of the Stars, which is the CAA headquarters, or now used to be, because I guess they're moving out of that building, but it was a big headquarters. But it was prominently featured in this film because that's where all the Kens are. When he goes, when he discovers the patriarchy, I discovered the patriarchy, and it lives in Century City.
Even the garden area in the back is shot
funny.
there. When she's walking around, or he's walking around, and she's walking around, and she sees all the people at the park bench talking. That was like in the back area.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so
they really utilized that space.
That front lobby with all the glass, where all the
and
where
the
he's
entrance
like,
to Mattel, I think, was the two buildings.
Right.
Yep.
He says, "Oh no, we're still around. We're just the patriarchy is still here. We just hide it better." That with all of that, and like the two guys talking, and it's like, "Not now." Like talks to his secretary, like, "Not now." And it's like, yeah. It was great.
I
mean, but also a little over the head, which at the same time, if you're trying to get this message to teenage girls, you kind of need to be a little over the head sometimes.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like,
boys,
this.
Teenage
okay,
boys.
I want to criticize my own hypocrisy for a second. Okay. So like there. Remember, we did an episode on Green Book.
No, we didn't.
I thought we did. Anyway, it's not a very good movie. It also won Best Picture, or I believe it did. And Green Book is the kind of movie.
We did talk about it, though. We did talk about it. Now I see the point you're about to make, but go ahead.
Right. So, where I am completely hypocritical, right, is that with Green Book, I'm like, this is a pretty bad movie, and it's a horrible watch, and it's. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a racist movie, but it's a very uncomfortable movie that is very well-meaning in its anti-racist point, but it's basically a fumbled mess, right? But my argument was like, this is the kind of movie that the wife of a racist will rent, and he may accidentally be exposed to, and it will pull him in the right direction. So it's good to make these movies even when they're clumsy, right? At the same time, with Barbie, which is a way better movie than Green Book, like a billion miles better, like here I am bitching that it's not perfect. Like, I can't believe they didn't make a perfect feminist manifesto, like with $1 billion fucking Hollywood budget behind it and Mattel. Like, who the fuck am I to be complaining about that? That's ridiculous. Like that they got as far as they did is amazing in itself. The movie is very entertaining, and there's no way, like, everybody in America is going to see this movie, whether they're sexist imbeciles or not, and being exposed to the message, however it may be fumbled in the fine details due to structure and Mattel, doesn't make any fucking difference at all. Like, the message is going to get through loud and clear, and that's the fucking point.
Yeah.
So like so I will try to align my philosophy better next time I post.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I think that.
What did you say in the post?
Oh, I just gave it like a C+, which is my real feeling about the movie. But I said it in the voice of Martini Giant when I said it in my own voice, and I totally agree with the criticism. That's absolutely fair. But the thing is,
also, I think you need time to digest this film a little longer.
I think that it took me a while to figure out the Return of the Jedi aspect was. Like, it's a particular failure of screenwriting that I'm so sensitive to.
Right.
And
it's a trigger. It's a trigger.
It is a trigger for me. It is a maddening trigger.
To get triggered from.
I apologize for being more forceful than I intend.
Okay, now that you put that in perspective, I actually have a lot of sympathy for you because I understand the problem, right? But it's Return of the Jedi was a movie to sell toys, and this is a movie about toys. So
exactly.
You were going to be triggered one way or another.
It's the way it is. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. And also, I should further say that the major difference between Barbie and Return of the Jedi is Return of the Jedi is a giant piece of shit. That's what I'm actually mad at. So don't just take all of that out.
There was a forest scene where they
don't
fought.
Don't start me on this, man.
Where
you
those
know where
things
I go.
Fought.
Yeah,
I've seen the movie 100 times. Tell me,
like the motorcycles in the flying. That was well shot. That was
the motorcycles
cool effect.
are cool. The flying motorcycles are great,
right? And they hit the stump or something.
They shot that in the redwood forest near Santa Cruz.
Right. Yes. That's very nice. It's a wonderful scene. But let's never do Ewoks again. I can't take it in my heart. But yes, that's the actual issue. So there's yub Ewok bum whatever it is. That's the worst. But Caesar pointed out rightly that many of the greatest films are the ones that are made under oppressive regimes, such as every one of Andrei Tarkovsky's films, such as Stalker, etc., where you have at least a major part of the country, if not the government of the country, looking over your shoulder at every choice you make. And so it is the struggle against that kind of stuff that ends up with very creative ways around that. And
you know what I saw the other day?
For that.
I have a Plex server and a Plex account, and a friend of mine, shall we say, gave me access to his Plex server. Has incredible collection, and I just browsed that. I watched on his server. He had Man with a Movie Camera.
Oh yeah, it's fucking great. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
20 times.
I haven't seen that in so long.
Beautiful,
crazy.
Wild. Yeah, incredible. Can you imagine? Like, I don't even know what it would be like to be that inventive today.
It is.
It's off the
wall. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of YouTubes just like that.
There's a lot of TikToks like this.
Like TikToks, or and you and I have done this. I know you and I have done this specifically. The videos of trains in Norway that go for like 12 hours.
Yes.
Do you ever do
TV,
those?
Man. I will leave those on for literally 12 hours.
Yeah.
You can watch them on YouTube. They had them on Netflix for a while. It's perfect. That's That's some good stuff.
Have you guys, anyone else on our Discord or on chat ever watched those 12-hour train videos in Norway, just going through tunnels and through fjords?
So soothing.
It's just...
Is it still around?
Oh, yeah. Just look up Norway train videos on YouTube, and it's just it's just literally a GoPro attached to the front of the train, and it's just going from tunnel to tunnel to tunnel to tunnel, and just...
Snow, beautiful, slow.
Seeing fjords, stopping in towns.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding.
Yeah, the sound is perfect. It's just
it's really
so.
amazing.
So yes, that was a little bit of Man with a Movie Camera. Like,
yeah. It's just
you feel transformed. You feel like you're in that, like, there for a little bit. And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah, 100%. That is one of the most. That I watched back to back with Woman in the Dunes, and it was like they're burned into my head together forever.
Man with a Moving Camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
1925, 9, something like that.
Also, this will give you some, for people who have never heard me talk about anything, like, if you want some perspective on the kind of movie that I consider to be like the kind of movie you should be making, I just rewatched Tetsuo the Iron Man. And if you haven't seen Tetsuo the Iron Man, it's on YouTube for free. Like, that's the kind of crazy bullshit that I want to be responsible for. Like, that is the artistic impetus right there. So when I get feisty about that stuff, that's because I want people to go as hard as they possibly can. With all that in mind, my favorite thing about Barbie is that it's going to go back and make people watch Greta Gerwig movies, which they absolutely should.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I just, the fact that it's Store Up the Hornet's Nest is also hilarious to me. I just hearing Ted Cruz bitch about it and then saying he never saw it.
Yes.
Like,
first of all,
how can you bitch about a movie?
Yeah. I just want to ask. I'm just like, okay, so imagine that I'm like a cowboy from 1863, and you are complaining to me about your masculinity via Barbie movie. They made the Ken so dumb. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing? Like, if you are that worried about how you appear that you can't have Ryan Gosling be hilarious, you need some tender love.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that is ridiculous.
Lily was laughing so hard when there's a scene where when they first arrive in the world and all the construction workers are catcalling her.
Oh, yeah,
and she says, it's like, I should let you guys know, I don't have a vagina.
That's awesome.
And they look at her like, that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine.
And she said that was hilarious.
Possibly the most astute point in the entire film right there. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, no, I don't have any genitals. And then Ken says, I have all the genitals.
I have all the genitals. It's amazing. Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I cannot. I'm like, as if I couldn't love Ryan Gosling more. He just finds new ways.
He
just finds new
is
ways.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful,
Yep.
wonderful.
Everything from Crazy Stupid Love to Blade Runner 2049.
Blade Runner
to this.
Crazy Stupid Love is pretty good too. I gotta say.
That's one of my very favorite rom-coms. It's a brilliantly orchestrated thing.
I agree that it's a good rom-com. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite rom-com and one of my favorite comedies of all time is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh God, that's fucking perfect. That's a perfect movie.
Am I right? I mean,
that movie captures an emotion.
Brady watched it and he's like, that is such a good movie.
There's only one other movie I can think of that captures that similar emotion, and that's Modern Romance with Albert Brooks, and that's a little bit too mean-spirited for most people.
Right.
This is like, if you haven't seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that is the kindest smack in the face you could possibly receive.
It's a great film.
The
thing perfect. That it was one of the films where I started to realize and Judd Apatow does a lot of, because Judd Apatow is some loosely related to this, but a lot of his films do something similar where every character is either on the good side or the bad side. But if you're on the bad side, they always show some opportunity where they save the cat or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And then on the other side, they always like, oh, the person that's the hero made a really stupid mistake and makes them bad, right?
Yes.
And the same thing happens in this. Like what's the English guy's character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall? This guy's name.
Yes, he's now a commentator.
Yeah.
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand.
Yes.
He is so hilarious in this.
Yes.
I mean, he's the Ken of that movie.
He's the Ken of the movie.
Yeah.
And but he at the same time, you're like everyone. You hate him because he's just such a chauvinist and sexist and everything else. And then at the same time, is like he says some really nice things to to the main guy, and it's like I thought it was like a gothic Neil Diamond kind of thing. It was like that's what I was going for. That's
what
so
I was
nice.
going for. Anne and I to this day still scream Dracula musical whenever we want to encourage the other. We're like Dracula musical.
Yeah, just
that
make
is
it
a
happen.
fucking perfect film. And I love what's her name from
she's great.
Good Place. Yeah, she's unbelievably funny. But like Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell. Yes,
who's married
funny.
to Drax.
Don't know. She's extremely funny. Very smart.
Do you remember he was the guy in Idiocracy who's like the doctor?
Oh yeah. Okay, right.
Drax Shepard. Thank you.
Yeah, Dax Shepard.
Jax. Something
like that. Anyway, she's terrific. I've been
also
watching...
what's her name? The who's the hotel lady, the love interest.
She married Ashton Kutcher.
She's great.
Yeah, she's smart.
She's
great.
really smart. She's
great. She's so fucking great.
I love the fact that she and Ashton Kutcher are so smart and intelligent and do all these things.
Yeah,
because their characters on the 70s shows
they always play dumbasses.
The dumbest of all of the characters. It was the best.
It's the great. I love those. I love both of those guys.
Mila Kunis.
Yeah, I saw them at a Starbucks in Century City. It was pretty funny. I was at a Starbucks and I'm like, wait a minute, they're here with their kids buying muffins and getting lattes. I was like, that's cool.
And incidentally, he is responsible for, you talk about the other QAnon movie. He does the real world work. It's his business that was primarily against human trafficking. Like they used all their money to get into working with the city of LA to halt human trafficking in Long Beach, as I understand it. Yeah. So they're also very cool people. Cool.
Well, she's also what's her origin? Ukrainian?
Russian?
No,
I think something like that. I'm not sure.
Something. And so she does a lot of work for refugees and
that's awesome.
Things of that nature.
Yeah,
they're
good folks.
Huge humanitarians. Yeah. Very rich, and they do use that money for a lot of good.
Nice job. Also, they're independently hilarious on Hot Ones.
Right. Yeah.
So there we go. But anyway, so these this was a very interesting pairing
is right.
Of movies, because like I really feel like, because I don't know where Oppenheimer is going to land for me, but like it is definitely an overpowering experience.
Yeah, she's from Ukraine. Go ahead.
Ukraine, yeah. Like I don't know where Oppenheimer is going to land for me. It was so nice. This is a variation on what you had quoted earlier, Eric. Like it was so nice to see a real grown-up movie. Like I was just like, oh, it's a movie with important things to say that's really well made. I was like, to see this in a theater was stunning.
To try to sort of put a point on what Scott Ross was tweeting about. It was like, it's not a great movie.
It's just refreshing.
Movies used to be, and we just forgot about it.
Yeah, it's
so.
They used to make a lot more movies like that.
Movies used to be about something and not selling you toys. And
specifically, I guess the big difference, because there's plenty of really good, intense, thoughtful, great indie film being made today. You know, there's loads of great stuff like this. In fact, I want to throw in sort of a crossover bug with a movie that I really, really love that's very feminist and very challenging is Promising Young Woman, which is not for Barbie entertainment. but it is a really, really intense, very well done movie.
Well, hold on. Okay, before we get into that, because we still have about an hour to go.
Sure.
But I need to take a quick break.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
we can
Good.
do. I've logged into the system, so I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to play an ad for you guys. It'll be a little 2-minute ad.
Did you see what I sent you, Chris? Too.
Okay, I'll check it out when I get back. Okay.
Love it.
No big deal, but
I will send it when I get back. All right, ad's going to start soon, but we'll be back in 2 minutes. Just hold on to your hats.
I'll be right back.
And then you
Dan,
guys can
okay?
keep talking. Okay, you'll be right back too. All right. We'll be back in a
Dan,
second. So
no,
is that-
I'll talk to Dan. I know he gets scared.
Okay,
And then
talk to Dan and I'll be right back.
It's only
And then
when
you
the
can
lights
take
are
it
off.
back.
I get weird. You know,
All
it's
right.
okay.
Oh, God,
We'll get there.
Dan, don't worry.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah, like I'm used to seeing deep, interesting, good stuff on streaming now, but I forgot how long it's been since I've seen like a Hollywood supported, big, expensive adult.
You
film.
know, it would have been really cool if the music went, meow, that kind of stuff. I could have done that film without dialogue, just the music and
Just music is beautiful. Music
right?
is really beautiful.
Like you
I agree.
could understand everything.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's like that's one of my actually, because I think he has a lot of beautiful scores, especially recently. But this is the most folded into the movie his score has been. Usually, like they're very pronouncedly their own thing. But I wasn't aware of the score, but the score was really investing me in every scene. Like it was really, really promoting me in every scene. And I thought it was extremely well done. But yeah,
What are
like
you talking about?
talking about the Oppenheimer's use of music is like
It's a little heavy-handed.
it's heavy-handed for you.
No,
Okay, yeah. Like
it was
I liked
so
it. I liked it quite a bit.
beautiful.
I thought it was actually
I'm not saying it's not pretty. It was just heavy-handed.
it is very like the whole movie is he rolls the dice on doing some very intense operatic things.
yeah, that's what it was because
Yeah.
the world is on his shoulders.
Yeah, and what I really did enjoy about it stylistically is like, I didn't think of this. This is another film critic said this, Darren Mooney. He pointed out that the movie is really about uncertainty, and like there's two ways to view the world in this movie, and one is represented by Strauss, and one is represented by Oppenheimer. And so the basic structure of the movie is the quantum physics Schrodinger's catness of the event, you know, and how, like, which sort of path are we going to end up taking is the question of the film, because the observation of it is what makes it a reality, and so the movie puts as much in there to make things as unstable, like the greater the difference in the point of view, the physically more unstable the world of the film becomes. And I was just like, this is a big, risky thing to be doing in a drama, you know. And I was like, I'm just glad when people fucking take big swings like that. It was really spectacular.
Yes, but you know, Nolan didn't have the obstacles that she had.
Oh, I can't. And there's no company. Like he did everything he wanted. He had total control over it. Like
Right.
like nobody said no to him, which is like its own kind of trouble. But like, so there's no way to compare the making of the movies at all, really, because like she's got to run to the top of the hill with lead weights on against Mattel.
Right.
You know, he doesn't have, like, he's made, all of his movies are giant hits. Even Tenet, I think,
Right.
made money. So the studios are just like,
Second
do
only
whatever,
to-
whatever you want, Chris.
Yes,
You know?
second only to Cameron, right? He can do whatever.
Yes,
he
you
wants.
do whatever the fuck he pleases.
Right.
So it just comes down to his discipline of filmmaking made the
Right.
movie great, which is great.
Now,
But like,
I do want to know that, Eric, you brought up some really great points about the sound that I thought were really cool. Where I thought the sound was, you know, pretty interesting. It was the music that was just it just starts to get the needle, you know, when that needle starts to go from yellow to red, right?
Right. Starts hammering
and
too hard.
that's when it's like, yeah. And Nolan's tend to be always in the red, like to the
Sure.
point where I can't even hear what the hell they're saying, right?
Yeah, right.
And this one was like bouncing. It was on yellow to red to me, right? You know, in
Yeah,
terms
right.
of where it was.
Which
So-
is like, I was just saying, to me, this was his most sort of folded in score. Like it didn't
yes,
like this is the most
agree.
integrated score he's ever had. But still, he's
there's
like,
a lot. That's a long trip to take with him because it's always so far.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah.
But I do.
I mean, I eventually became. I am a convert of his argument, like especially in movies like Interstellar and Tenet, where you literally can't hear what the fuck people are saying at all.
Right.
Like,
you're
I don't like those
Bane, Bane, and that's.
I didn't like his earlier stuff at all.
Which one did you not like? Like the Batman?
I didn't like
stuff?
Memento. I like Batman.
Okay.
Memento was an HBO film cut really well.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Tenet. I thought that was.
I didn't like Insomnia. Insomnia is the one
I didn't like. Yeah. Well, it was okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It just wasn't.
He slowly gets better with those movies, but he makes this bizarre giant leap for me after the Batman movies. Like the Batman movies are okay. They're pretty good. Some good stuff. But like once he gets into like, Interstellar and all that stuff, he's just making movies on a whole different weird experimental level.
The dream one. What am I thinking?
Inception.
Inception was very interesting.
Yeah, like they're really. I mean, I hear the critiques that people have of him, but this is true about all.
But you see, like Inception. Okay, I'll go back. Sorry, Inception. Obviously, very loud sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Very intrusive. Yeah.
Very intrusive sounds. But to me, that was an important part of it. Here, it felt a little. I don't know. There was something different. But I do, Eric, the note that you had specifically where. There's an explosion happening, and then you only hear the chairs, or during the cheering,
it's a totally silent scene. Yeah, like that. Like
when
that
was actually.
Yeah.
But that's if the rest of the movie was like that, it would have been great. I feel like it got a little bit circular with a lot of these interrogations, and I felt like it. If they reduced. At least with the flames, you're talking about the flames. I felt like they didn't need to show it. They had to show the impact of it because that's whole movie is about the impact of this one man. So the lights and this over and just looking back with all the lights and silence it tells more about what he is developing and how it affects us still to this day than anything else. And so it was like silence was the best part of the film. It was beautiful.
It's a terrific sequence. Like I think that it's like it's so.
And the desert at night was really great. It was really.
I agree with. It's like the thing that I thought was distracting was the meh explosion.
Right.
They didn't need to show. Yeah, but
they didn't. If they didn't, because everything else, them sitting on the mattresses facing backwards. Was great. And
Benny Safdie with the fucking goop on his face.
The goop on his face and the sunglasses.
That's great. I like when Safdie says to, what's his name? Dennis Quaid's son. Dennis Quaid's like, don't worry, the glass will protect me from the UVA. He's like, what will protect you from the glass? It's good business. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Safdie's great. I love, Florence Pugh does a brilliant job in that movie, and it's a really hard role to play right.
She was so beautiful. I was God, this girl is
perfect casting, great
so
job.
Great. Beautiful, beautiful actress too. Yeah. It was so sexy, those scenes too.
Well, and like that's the beauty of those. The beauty of that stuff is like if it weren't as well played as it's easy to let that character slip into film noir sort of simplicity. But she keeps on making that a real person, and it makes it both very, very sensual and very upsetting because it's very it brings like everything about her is very physical and very really emotional, and all the stuff that Oppenheimer himself is avoiding. Like he's trying to stay up in his head the whole time, and she's like she just keeps on wrapping her arms around him and pulling him back down to the physical world, and she becomes the guilt of what he is doing.
She reminded me of some like almost like from Greek mythology, the way she looked and her beauty and intelligence were something. And well, I'm not gonna say I knew somebody like that in my life, and it just brought back like, wow, I remember her, and before I got married and stuff. But yeah, it definitely, absolutely was blown away by her, and I was like, God, I didn't, but Blunt I felt like it was perfect because almost like I felt like she was like from a kibbutz, or there was something about her that was so authentic.
Yeah.
And also like beyond life in a way. It was almost like her character was like not an angel, but there was a mythological quality about her, and the way her presence was that. And it's interesting. It's like always, never these wide shots. It was always tight or in a room.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was something, and the intimate scene where she grabs the book and she has him read it. Well, I was like, that was
terrific. It's terrific. And like
I wanted to know more about him through that.
Well, this is my favorite thing about the movie overall is that the more I thought about it, the more it does this thing. Like, this is what movies often fail to do for me now, is like characters in this movie aren't simply there for their own dramatic parts, like the details, the dramatic details of someone's life, like who cares, like they are all symbolic representations of what is happening within the main character, and like he is interacting with these people or avoiding interacting with these people because of how he feels. And when you have an incredibly tight, intentionally opaque performance like Cillian Murphy's, like you absolutely, he has to hold strong and not show his cards too much, and then all the other supporting actors essentially do the externalized emotional work, and it's
she took over though. Emily Blunt.
Oh
when
yeah,
they had that scene, she basically took the rest of the film.
Exactly.
Which was strange to me.
Well,
because she's portrayed as a bad mother alcoholic the whole time.
But she's also the moral force of the movie.
I understand that, but it's strange,
Give
right?
Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second.
Well, it's strange because basically, like she's there's something strange about her, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I had first of all, I had a hard time with hearing the kids cry the whole time and all that stuff. That was hard.
It's hard to listen to. Yeah, exactly. It's emotional to hear that noise.
But also I understand when she says, "I've been here all day."
Yes, right. Well, because what I really like about it, it's a very complex portrayal of a very complex. Because with both these roles for like both his love interests, essentially, like it's easy to play these shallow and get away with it. But Blunt is she plays drunk really, really well. Like when you can tell that she's fucking hammered and she's trying to remain like clear, like, and she's like warbling just a little bit and like slurring just a little bit. So you're like, are you fucking drunk? Like she's saying something that I want her to say that's important to say to get this fucking idiot under control. But this is how much it's wearing on her. She's losing control of herself and her ability to take care of the people that she loves, including her kid, because he just will not accept responsibility for his life. Like he just won't do it. Like he's always just like, no, in the moment. And it's working on a thing all the time, and she's like, it's both like, what's her name? Pugh is constantly trying to pull him into the emotional world, and she is always trying to pull him into the
real world.
The real world. Right.
Yeah. Could we do a podcast where we are like Nolan, those silent scenes, and we just play the music, and it's just podcast. Us crumpling paper and stuff?
Like, it's totally ASMR.
And that's our podcast?
Eating a sandwich because it's 3 PM. It'd be perfect. But
that would be great, actually. That's a great idea.
This is the kind of stuff that Nolan is accused of not paying attention to, and it turns out he's actually very good at it.
Yes.
He's often distracted by the novelty of his own inventions. But when he focuses on what the movie's supposed to be,
or as Caesar said, he's up in his own ass.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that a very entertaining place, so I don't have any problems with it. I understand people's criticisms of it, And it's like, like people, he's too much exposition. I'm just like, yeah, I know, but I love exposition when it's fun. That's why I love fucking The Dirty Dozen. It's all exposition.
Oh,
it's cool guys talking about cool things they're gonna do. I love that.
I saw the other day was The Train with Burt Lancaster.
Oh, that's a good one, man. That's a good one.
What's funny about it is that everyone, he's part of the French resistance, and everyone's like, yes, we must fight the Nazis. And then he's like this Jewish guy from Brooklyn. Yeah, we're going to do it. It's like, he doesn't even make an attempt to get an accent. It's like, I'm head of the resistance. What are
That's
you going
what
to tell
stars
me?
can
My
do,
mother
man.
used to make
It's okay.
these locks with the
That's
big.
the same thing with
it's just-
Sean Connery, man. He just like,
Exactly.
I just do the same accent every time.
He's an
The Great
Egyptian
Train
in that
Robbery is the
fucking,
same
in,
thing.
what do you call it? In Highlander.
Highlander.
He's an Egyptian who then moved to Spain, and he sounds like Sean Connery.
That's right.
My name is Ramirez, and I talk like this.
I talk like this.
Like when you're a star,
who's
you're a
the
star.
guy who
It's
plays
fine.
Sean Connery on SNL?
Oh, he's funny. Yeah. I can't think of
I'll
his name. But
take
yeah.
famous titties for $500.
Anal bum cover. Oh my god. Yeah, it's too
The
good.
rapist for $500, Alex.
I was actually
That's
just having-
therapist.
That's the rapist. The rapist. The yeah, God, that's prime Will Ferrell right there.
Yes.
That's it. That's Will Ferrell. That's it. Like
Again,
But
we
he's
should not
great,
dismiss the quality that Will Ferrell is as a
yes.
person.
When he's great, he is great.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Stranger Than Fiction, I thought he was great.
Stranger Than Fiction, actually, a tremendous film.
Right.
Anchorman 1, and
Anchorman
literally
as
perfect
well.
performance. Anchorman 1, that's the Daniel Plainview of comedies. Like it's a towering comic achievement. Like that's up there with like Gene Wilder in Young Frankenstein. Good, it's literally flawless.
Yeah, I could go there.
That's a great one. Oh, or actually, possibly the best of all time is Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie across the board.
Yes,
Like best performance.
I do love
Homer.
Will Ferrell in Elf.
Oh yes, okay, I'll give him that for sure. And
Right,
you know what I
so-
really like? I loved him in them. He did the Pasadena Rose Bowl parade coverage in character as this other person. Nobody
Really?
watched this thing. It was funny as hell. Yeah, it was
Who?
him and Molly Shannon.
Oh, perfect.
And it was so fun. It was like 4 hours of running commentary from those guys. And it was dying laughing. It's so funny.
I
Nobody
love
watched
that.
it. They canceled it.
Yeah, no.
Who did this?
It was
Will Ferrell and Molly Shannon
Molly
were doing
Shannon.
the Pasadena Rose Bowl Rose Parade or whatever.
commentary, and they were playing it like they were actual newscasters doing this,
Oh.
and it was fucking absolutely
That's
hysterically
a hilarious episode of Frasier when that his dream is to be a banter commentator on the Christmas parade,
It's
and
so
he
good.
fucks it up real bad. Yeah,
Oh,
it's really
God.
funny.
It's time for me to
It
go back
turns
to
racist,
Frasier.
which
Yeah.
is really hilarious.
The best. How can it be better than horrible
Because he
racism?
criticizes this black woman host. Oh my god!
Oh my
Just
god!
like, there's some moments in Frasier that are like, oh,
Frasier. I haven't seen Frasier in so long, but it was at the time the funniest show I had ever seen. Like
the writing
it's-
is so
the writing
good.
is flawless.
Yeah.
and the chemistry between Niles and him
Mm-hmm.
is of that's
The
unbelievable.
lines.
It's
I'm just
perfect.
going to give you one line. All right. So Frasier tries to buy Freddie, his son, a Christmas present, and he's having it delivered in the mail. Right, and it's just before Christmas. And he's like, I got him, the living brain is supposed to be the most educational toy out there. And his father goes, oh, geez, can't you just get him the Robot Geek toy or whatever? He's like, no, it's very educational, etc. And so he opens up the package and it's a dollhouse, right? And he goes, oh, no, this was supposed to go to the genuine crane from Kenny Bunkport. Oh no, they got the wrong gift or whatever. And then it's like, Niles, do you know what this means? He goes, yes, the cranes of Maine have got your living brain.
I've got your living brain.
It's like, oh my God. I mean, how did they set up that joke? The cranes of Maine have got your living brain. I was like, oh God, that's like mwah, writing.
I think the writing and that cast, especially the first like 3 seasons, are just
It goes pretty late.
unstoppable.
Like I would say, I would go up to season 8.
Yeah, it holds strong. It definitely
holds strong. And
Yeah.
once it starts to fall into the friends drama, like
dude.
where like the relationship between two of the characters. And
Have you ever seen the Joe Montana movie Homicide, directed by David Mamet?
No. Now I want to.
You should see it. It's excellent. It's got
Okay.
Bill Macy, and it's great. And it's a very, very early David Mamet movie. It's really fun.
I think I've seen that. to
It's
be
really
honest.
good.
I've seen most of Mamet's films.
I love. He may be a batshit crazy right wing weirdo right now, but I still love his fucking movie making. He's such a wild, weird guy. But his movie Homicide has this line that Bill Macy says that stuck with me for 30 years now, which is when the main character is just like, he's a cop and he's like pursuing this case too hard, it's fucking up his life, and Bill Macy is his partner, and he goes, Joe, let me tell you something, and it's the truest thing I know. What the old horse said, once you start coming with the customers, it's time to quit. That's what happens to shows that have been on too long. Once you're like, oh, but I can't, I love these characters too. No, Frasier is about shame. Give me more shame.
But it's interesting. I saw a little piece about it because he is a disgusting character on Frasier. That's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. And I think great sitcoms are when the protagonists are really despisable people, right? Like Seinfeld, right?
Like Seinfeld, exactly.
Or like Carol O'Connor.
O'Connor is the very point of All in the Family.
Exactly. All right. And so, but he is really. And it was funny. I saw this little piece about him because Kelsey Grammer is a massive overactor in a lot of ways. Right?
Oh, he's a ham. He's an absolute ham.
And so he apparently does these things where he's like, oh, I'm doing so-and-so from The Honeymooners, like Jackie Gleason. So he actually has all these references of different, when he overdoes something, is like, I'm going to do the Jackie Gleason on this one.
Right ring cuckoo bird?
A little bit, I think so.
Kelsey?
A touch.
Grammer?
Yeah, I think
I don't
think he's cuckoo. I think he's Republican. I don't think he's like a Trump supporting Republican, but he's Republican.
Yeah,
so.
He's also like, when he was doing Frasier, he was like, it's a massive paycheck, and I'm gonna take as much as I can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's I love when people know how to be hams. We were talking about with Kenneth Branagh earlier. Like,
right.
Kenneth Branagh is just like, it's
the problem I have with
delicious.
Kenneth Branagh is that he takes himself too seriously sometimes.
Certainly when he was making Hamlet. Yes.
Out of everybody in Hollywood?
Right, exactly.
Okay, fair.
I think he's much better now.
Fair, Eric.
he is tip top when he makes Henry V, which is my favorite Shakespeare movie ever made. He's incredible in it. Best Shakespeare movie ever made. And then
the best one was Ian McKellen in
Richard III.
Richard III.
That's the other great Shakespeare movie of all time.
Annette Bening. Holy moly!
Okay, hold on. What am I thinking? What's the?
I'm going to eat, Chris. Okay.
Alec Guinness. I know. I'm taking the camera off you every time you do that. Alec Guinness film. Alec Guinness did one too. Didn't he do a Hamlet?
Richard III.
He did do a Richard.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
My favorite
Gielgud.
With Gielgud, yeah. My favorite what do you call it? Hamlet is there's a BBC production with Nicole Williamson, who everyone will remember as Merlin from Excalibur.
Oh, right.
And he is absolutely fucking out of this world. But outside of that, I really like Mel Gibson's Hamlet. Like that is actually a really, really good movie. It's not a great Shakespeare movie, but it's a really good movie. And I think they dialed it in. It was before Mel went really off the rails.
I think Mel Gibson was also involved in that silent of freedom thing.
Oh, is he? Yeah, that makes sense. Oh,
really?
God,
yeah.
Did. Oh, because Mel Gibson is actually making a documentary about child sex trafficking. That's his next project.
Right.
And then after that, he's going back to Cash Machine.
The thing is, it's interesting because, like, obviously, child sex trafficking is an issue. It's a problem.
These are real things. Yes,
these are real
That's
things.
why it shouldn't be treated.
But then you're like,
as a conspiracy theory by weirdos.
The conspiracy is that it's all Democrats who want to drink their blood.
Yeah,
which is like,
that's bad news. That doesn't help anybody.
No.
That
and it doesn't help
way.
the sex trafficking problem either, because then the people don't take it seriously.
Yes. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff.
I'm going to check out the trailer because I don't know a damn thing about it.
Yeah, I think we should do
I don't necessarily. So here's the thing: is I haven't seen it either. So I'm making comments about this in the same way that Ted Cruz is making comments about Barbie.
Sure.
I am sure that the film has a strong message about things, but the problem I'm going to have is that there's an underlying message about how this is about the left wing.
Yeah, please check out QAnon.com.
Right.
Right. We don't need that part.
And I don't need that part, right? Yep. And I guess, if you think about it and trying to be the devil's advocate, there's basically saying, they're using Barbie to try to sell you on some woke ideas, right?
Sure.
And that's the message, right? And they're not necessarily wrong.
Well, yeah.
Right?
This comes into go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so, like, for example, Lily and I are having, she just loves Barbie because the specific is like, it is so woke, and that's the best part of it to her, right? Because she wants to say, hey, and by the way, the term woke was invented by people from the left. Actually, it's invented by black people specifically.
It's actually,
right?
yes,
right.
That is from
but it's been adapted by the left to be able to mean a specific thing, and then was villainized by the right. Right.
Well,
because DeSantis uses that term so much in legal documents.
Yes.
He was forced to define it.
Right.
And his lawyers said, what is the definition of woke? And he said, the definition is that you are aware that there are other cultures around you that are being oppressed, and you need to be empathize with them. I was like, how could you be against that?
Yeah, that's wild. Oh, it's wild that he would say it, because that's not what people from the right complain.
But he was
I'm not
forced
talking about,
legally to define it.
Right, just say this, right? But which is really interesting, because like the problem with the word itself is that it has a totally different meaning depending upon who's speaking, right?
Sure.
And
it's like AI.
Yeah, exactly. And so like where I get frustrated just with the left is when they hear something that the right is saying, they use the term woke, and what the right means by woke, or whatever the person means in that particular instance. I'm not talking about Trump supporting wackos. I'm just talking about Republicans. Like, they're talking about a certain kind of intrusive, pushing your
buttons,
pushing your buttons, kind of aggressive, I'm a bad person if I don't say yes to you right now kind of attitude.
Yes.
Like, that's generally what they mean, right? And when you hear regular, normal people on the right or Republicans say that, when someone says, they say like, it's the woke agenda, right? And I'm against the woke agenda. That's what someone on the right says. And the underlying truth is they're saying, I'm sick of people coming in and telling me and my family that we're bad people because we, are Republican or whatever it is. When we hear that phrase, we go, okay, I'm going to take that word woke and define it how I define it, which means positive, like a positive outlook on a spectrum of sexualities, and having like equal rights for everyone, fighting for that, like all this stuff. And so we say, what he said is he's against black people, trans people, gay people, and all this stuff. That's what we put in our minds that this person said, when that's not what that person meant.
Yeah.
Like, and so that creates arguments when there don't have to be arguments. Like if you actually use straightforward language, you're better off. So like, words like that become an issue because they're so loaded with whatever you want them to mean in the moment that they don't turn into actual meaningful sentences. That being said, like, if you take the wokeness, out of Barbie, like, what you're taking out of it is stuff that everyone should feel good about. Like, everyone being equal and friendly and good to each other. Like, that's what the movie is promoting. And it's promoting it in a really positive, happy way. Like, there's nothing in the movie to disagree with because that's what you would want for yourself. So, like, the idea that this is a woke agenda movie, I don't understand what that means for someone on the right.
Well, they first of all, the point I was trying to make is like, they didn't see it.
They didn't see it.
They didn't see it. They basically said it's anti-male.
Right.
And like, they just went with that. Right.
Like, I think that they, like, I hear, like, because of the problems that I outlined, they do get into tricky territory that I can see lighting up. If you're going in there mad, you'll have reason to be mad. But the fact is, like, if you go to see, like I said, Get Out, like, no white person going to see Get Out is gonna be like, I can't believe it was so racist against whites. Like, which is because it's a fucking ridiculous thing to say, And so, like, the idea that this is trying to be anti-male is utterly missing the point of the entire film.
I think there's a lot of people, though, and I don't agree with many people, but I think the nation and in the world, there's a sense of loss of control within their lives. And so I think when these touch points are like movies, like arguing about movies, and, I think that's their only way where they can express, like,
I agree.
I'm not grounded and the world scares me or this or that. And I get that aspect of it. I do.
Sure.
I think the big problem is that the way we're having discussions is wrong.
I completely agree with you.
It's like this online stuff.
Once you're only in the heightened land of insults.
That's right. That's why I stay away from online, because it will jack me up. Because I would be like, fuck off, like me with my mouth. I started early and I tried like other things, and I completely just blow up at people, and I've stayed off of it because it's useless.
It's a useless form.
I'm not good there because I just am like, it's really hard to and
it's really just about,
it's easy too.
It's really just about sales. Like all that, the reason why it's so popular is because companies forefront it so they can make more money off of conflict. So that's like this
100%.
is like,
well, basically, social media realized there's a higher likelihood that people will share something that they're angry about than something they feel good about. It used to be. You remember when the internet was all about, or Facebook was all about cat videos?
Yes.
Those were the good old days.
Those were the good old days.
Do you know what's weird though? There's probably a lot of people who love Barbie, but are still against corporations. But Barbie is just a huge corporate thing.
Yeah, and this is where I struggle.
But it's like, okay, but that's all it is just a rebrand,
right?
Which I thought was genius because it was it was fun.
I want to say, I am a capitalist in a lot of ways.
Yeah, sure.
I believe that I get a better life for me if there's free competition and evolution in this world.
100% agree.
Yeah. Right?
I'm not anti. Yes.
And so capitalism itself allows that to happen. So
good,
Barbie has to
Yes.
Barbie has to compete for your attention so that you're excited about Barbie. I'm okay with that.
That's okay.
Right?
But that's not. That has nothing to do with what my point I was making.
I agree.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Just because my comments have nothing to do with.
I didn't say it was. I'm just talking about capitalism.
I don't have I'm not an anti-capitalist, for instance.
Right.
No,
I don't buy it.
Certainly am not. But I just for me, it was so blatant for what it was. And it still was, I loved it, but it was like, that's what it was. But it's like, people are arguing over woke, but I just was thinking on the way home, like, there are people who are probably really, again, probably protested with, the Wall Street protests.
Yeah.
But yet love this movie.
Like, no, it's obviously meant to make money.
And it's like, that's just the kind of a funny place we are in the world.
It is,
true.
But it's not necessarily the wrong place. And I'll tell you this more specifically.
I never said it was wrong.
I hear what you're saying, though, Eric. I hear what you're saying, Eric, because I think it's a really good point. But I think that there's like for example, I feel that I am definitely a pro-capitalist person, as I feel. But I also feel that we don't have enough social services in this country to support everyone that needs support. And therefore, I am definitely more left-wing, or as they call it, socialist. I am not a communist. I am very anti-communism.
Yes,
here's
my argument.
Anti-capitalist, more specifically, and they don't think people in this country, especially right-wing people, do not know the difference between communism and socialism.
There's a great line.
They
from
define
Mank.
it in Oppenheimer.
And there's a great line from Mank that I think of all the time. Is when Mank says, "You know the difference. Socialism is where everyone shares the wealth. Communism is where everyone shares the poverty."
There you go. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well, where no one owns anything. Ownership is stealing, right?
Right. And ownership is theft, which is the whole, in our Oppenheimer, one of my favorite bits when he talks about the translation of that is particularly interesting.
Right.
But like it's like my argument against communism is that all examples on the earth have turned into ultimate disaster failures.
That's
so
right.
let's not do that. It doesn't work very
Venezuela.
well. Yeah, it's a little unstable, I think. But yeah,
socialism has been okay in places like Sweden.
Yeah, like you have to have a very specific set of
but I
circumstances.
don't think the right knows that. They define socialism and communism as the same thing, and it's very
not
different.
even not even. The thing is, like I do believe in capitalism. Well-regulated capitalism works very well, right?
Sure,
especially in conjunction with a strong democracy.
With a strong democracy and also the ability to make sure the competition and anti-competitive laws and anti-monopoly laws are
exactly. These are all very good, strong things, and I believe in those wholeheartedly. When you take those brakes off,
government regulation to make sure that doesn't happen, and so you don't have the freaking crazy Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp and all that shit.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't have the whole, all of that needs to
like the way that capitalism is working right now is not very well. Like I think that this is the problem.
Well,
it's still making lots of money for everybody.
No,
and it's
capitalism is not the way that our government is dealing with
the way that we're running it isn't working very well.
Right.
And like we have to step away from that ideal because
it all comes down to fucking taxes. They just don't want to pay the fucking taxes.
And Mark Pereira will tell you, by the way,
everyone is being fooled into thinking this is about gun control and birth control.
Yeah,
but it's about taxes. It's
all the other gun control and all the anti-abortion stuff. That's only there so you fight to distract you and make you fight, so they can get people on the Supreme Court to pass the regulations or to deconstruct the regulations that they do want.
Did you guys see what happened to McConnell?
No.
That was genius, dude.
Oh my God.
What happened?
It wasn't genius.
He had a stroke on camera.
Oh shit! Really? Oh no!
Yeah. Like on camera, he just froze in the middle of his talk, and I had to walk him off.
Oh no!
They don't know what happened to him. No one's talking about it. They're pretending he's okay. But he fell a couple of times, and then he was about to give a talk, and he just on camera goes like, he turned more into a turtle than he's ever been.
Oh my God, that guy! Listen, I really don't like that guy.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, the guy's
I think
bad
he
news.
is the rudest.
I don't wish a stroke on anybody. But like I would certainly.
Yeah.
If he's no longer in the business,
is like, oh my God, you got to stop this bullshit.
Like
Dianne Feinstein is completely. She's more senile than Joe Biden, which says a lot.
Yep. So I mean, like these are the things, dude. So like the thing is, like with Barbie, right? I think that both Barbie and
we got back to Barbie.
We can do it. With Barbie.
This is why I love you guys, man.
Like the great thing about both Barbie and Oppenheimer, like Barbie is extremely on the surface very frivolous and fun and silly, right? Which is great, but it does activate a real conversation which needs to be had, which is fantastic. Right. My critiques aside, that is the function of that thing. And the same thing is true for Oppenheimer. Like I was very unnerved by the ending of Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like I was that got me way harder than I expected to. And what was brilliantly done is that they make it seem so personal to him the whole time. Like it's always just like it's about his life and his relationships and all this stuff. And in the end, they're like, it is not about any of that at all. It's about this, and this is about you. And
I did not like Einstein.
I didn't have any feelings about him. I thought
Einstein,
he was fine.
I mean, this is such an important character. He could have been a little bit, maybe they could have given that to Kenneth Branagh.
Dude, no one's gonna beat Branagh. Like,
because I'm sorry, but Truman, holy crap.
Yeah.
That was great.
Douche.
Yeah, he's fucking.
No, I know, and he was a complete douche. Like, get this pussy out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was
toxic masculinity.
that is so good, and that's the I hate to say it, but the Tropic Thunder moment when you realize, oh my God, that's Tom Cruise the whole time. What? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and they needed that, and then at the same time, Einstein.
I think with Einstein,
sorry, just to go back because we were talking.
That was Drew Carey.
That was
Drew
Carey.
Oh my God, Drew Carey would have been great, actually.
My God.
No, but we talked about it with Air, we just released that episode, and I had to re-listen to the whole thing. But Air, and we're talking
With
about like Michael Jordan was,
right.
what if Einstein was you just see the back of his head the whole time, right? And you didn't do that with him, and
he's like, I agree that Einstein himself is like I don't think the actor's bad. The actor's fine. He's more of just sort of like he is there to be Einstein. Like there's no real character.
Yeah, but
for him to play.
He didn't feel Einstein. I didn't feel Einstein.
It's impossible to cast Einstein.
That's not true. I think we could have done it. I think we could have done it. I think
his job was.
I can't think of it. But
his role was perfect.
There was a made-for-TV movie in the '90s with Einstein, and it was really great. Or maybe it was just my memory because I loved it. But I don't know. I think we're wrong.
Right.
I think we could have done Einstein better.
I buy it. I'm welcome to be wrong on that.
Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was just his job was done. So all he had to do was just stand, be him, almost, throwing rocks into the pond.
He's like a symbol
done.
in the
He's
film.
like, I did, my part.
You know what's funny is that I remembered it was a mini series about Einstein, and I don't remember what it was, and it was in the 90s or 80s or something I remember seeing as a kid, and that exact scene took place in that movie.
Like it must be some real event that he's
must be some real, because he was by a pond throwing rocks,
it's
talking to Oppenheimer and saying, if this happened and we're all dead, or don't, that conversation must have happened in that context, because it was almost felt like I've seen this scene before in that miniseries.
Right.
Yeah, it was Einstein, Wolfman Jack, and Oppenheimer.
That's right, because it was originally in American Graffiti, right?
I loved Shirelles.
Yes.
Right.
That was great.
I was going to say Gene Wilder, but that's fine.
Right. Yeah. But like
Gene Wilder would have done an amazing job on that. Imagine Gene Wilder as Einstein. I'm putting the Einstein picture behind me.
You've successfully argued that point. Obviously, there was someone who would have played it perfectly. But I think like the brilliance of the movie is that like it wraps you up in all the drama surrounding his life, right? And then it slowly points out that all of the drama that we experience on a day-to-day basis, both personally and politically with everybody else online, and all the fucking noise and all the bullshit that we argue and scream about all the time, all comes down to we are not in the moment of these momentous things that are happening, and we're not actually assuming the control that we should, and that's why things are getting out of control.
Well, isn't it also the lesson they're trying to say is that Strauss did all this personal vendetta against Oppenheimer because he thought that he said something bad about him to Einstein.
Him, and it didn't even happen.
Right. And so
he also made fun of him at the AEC meeting.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dick to him.
Well, he did.
Yeah. He's a dick to him for sure. Right.
It's just jealousy, but so much of that.
It's so
like,
petty.
What is his I Claudius? I mean, where else is there like Richard III?
Dude,
right?
Exactly.
Dude, this happened in real life.
Yeah.
The only reason Trump ran for president is because Obama made fun of him at the fucking
the dinner, right?
The dinner.
Yeah, the correspondence dinner.
The correspondence dinner. Trump made fun of him. You could see the anger in his eyes. Yeah. That was the motivation he needed to run for president, and that's what did it. And that's why we're in this bullshit QAnon crap that we just described.
Right. And
because of Obama.
Because Obama made fun of them.
Because
yeah,
but like
I think the joke was written for Obama by the late night host. He was on Saturday Night Live. I'll think of it. He was on the same thing. He wrote the joke for him.
But this is the thing is that like because because Strauss represents the Trumpiness of the world in that movie. And like he is the
I wouldn't go quite Trumpiness because here's
personal vendetta.
Sorry, but
black and white thinking.
Well, hold on.
He's an embedded bureaucrat.
I'm going to distinguish Trump from just general right wing thing because Trumpiness is preying on dumbness.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sorry to say that.
Fair enough.
Because they're just easy guys, easy to sell red hats to. Like as I can listen, dude.
He was a political player.
Go ahead, Eric.
He was a political player. He was basically this bureaucratic political power player.
Yes,
Trump was. He wasn't a. he was a bully.
He is that. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like Trump is that, but he, instead of doing it with government, he does it with constituencies.
Well, he does
or
it with
building
selling
companies.
hats.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
literally, he has
that's
made.
it. That's what I mean.
He has made $500 million selling Trump crap.
And the thing
Has
is,
he
is
really?
that, like, I know,
Yes.
I know,
And then he does. He apparently he takes that all and puts it into some shell corporation,
Yeah,
and
to
that's
pay
what
for
he's
his
living
lawyers.
on.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
living on selling.
He's a leech.
Make America MAGA hats.
yeah, he's a leech. He's a leech. That's pretty much it.
So
Like,
it
there's
doesn't
nothing else to be
matter.
said.
He doesn't care about anything.
Of course.
Whatever he's
going
gonna
to jail,
keep
though.
doing the
But
marketing.
but this is the thing: is that, like,
He got
I
to
know.
Yale for God's sakes, like, dude.
I
I went to Colgate, for God's sakes. It's not that hard.
He didn't go to Yale.
Like, the thing is,
He didn't go to Yale.
Well, he went to whatever
he went to Trump University.
He went to
Doesn't
Trump
make any difference.
University. And
He went to
so-
Penn.
But
He went to
the
Wharton.
thing is, like, I know at least 3 people, who are very smart people who are Trump supporters, and you talk to them, and they're intellectual, very smart, fairly well-to-do people, and and so it isn't a dumbness thing. It is
It is.
an
I got
emotional
family
thing.
members.
it's an
Yeah.
emotional.
It's an
agreed.
emotional thing.
A connection thing.
Right.
They just connect with them, and
Yes.
that's it.
Like,
Yeah.
it is more rooted in the religious part of the brain than the thinky part of the brain.
That's
Right.
100%.
Like,
That's
just
all it
what
is.
that is.
And you don't want to be stuck in the middle of that.
Yep.
No. And so we're going to talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer. But listen, here's. I'm going to just put my little side thing.
Put your Trump hat on.
My little thing on this. I am glad. I'm going to actually change it to my Barbie background. I am really happy that these movies got made.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
I think that these movies getting made is a wonderful thing that we should celebrate, and we do celebrate,
Yep.
and we are celebrating with our dollars. And there's my capitalist.
Dude,
thing
that these
going
are
on.
mega hits is
Right.
fantastic.
Right.
It's fantastic across the board.
And I think it's also a freaking alarm bell to all of the Marvel Indiana Jones. Let's keep making
Amen.
fucking IP from 40 years ago.
Amen. Nice
Right,
new stuff.
New stuff. Now, the problem I have is that and it's been brought up in chat several times by both Caesar and Jason. It's like, Mattel is not going to get the message.
No.
They're going to fuck it up. They're going to fuck it up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're
there's
not
no
They're going
gonna-
to make the fucking.
They're going to make the Matchbox
Mattel
cars,
verse. Yes.
and they're going to they're going to fuck it up, and
Yes.
they're going to go, oh, we don't realize. It's like, you don't realize. You basically gave Greta Gerwig a loaded gun and said,
Yeah.
do what you want with it. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, are you sure I want to do that? Yep. And then you're going to mess it up.
Do they-
And
I wonder if they
in
have
a sense,
Oppenheimer
actually,
action figures.
Jason just put it execs, man. So in a sense, the Ewok scene problem you have of them
Yes.
acting like a bunch of idiots
Yes.
actually could be correct.
Fair enough. Absolutely.
Now,
Like,
it doesn't work in a movie. It doesn't work in a story,
There it is.
but it is a thing.
Yes. And Caesar just put up the link for the Barney movie they're making with Daniel Kaluuya.
Yes.
Hysterical. I know. But Daniel Kaluuya is amazing. But so I think I'm going to pitch this.
Oh.
The home run for me of Barbie, right, isn't that it's done so well for Mattel, and it isn't that like the studios are going to figure out, oh, now we can blah blah. Like the home run for that movie is the
Right on.
fact that Lily is writing a script that we'll be making. Like,
Yeah, she will be.
that is actually what that movie means to me.
that
like-
movie means yes.
Like, that is
in-
a young
inspiration.
artist inspired by this movie to go create art.
And we're going to do it. We're going to do it, right?
Yes, well, guaranteed. Absolutely.
We're going to help. We're going to help with the writing. It's like, we're going to help you with the writing in
That
case
is
there's a precedent.
so exciting to me, and I am
Okay.
so excited for her. That is terrific.
I'm going to ask her to
Terrific.
make sure she turns that thing around. And so
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
I
That
have
because
one- I have-
that's the true value of that movie for me.
Go ahead, Eric.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And this is not that I don't want to talk about Lily, because I think she's wonderful and awesome. And I'd like to be part of that film if you guys shoot it. But
you are going to be part of it. You are critical.
The thing is, we don't really talk about this a lot on the show, but I thought about it when I was sitting in the movies, because I did the movie Thursday night and then last night. Trailers. What did you think of some of the trailers? I saw Meg 2 last night. I was like, what the?
No, they literally jumped the shark.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to say, it's true, literally.
Brady cannot wait to watch Meg 2.
But there are
I make
other
fun of
ones.
it.
I cannot wait to watch Meg 2, and you know why? The director of Meg 2, and Caesar's is going to be excited, if he doesn't know it already, is Ben Wheatley.
What?
Ben Wheatley.
I know that name.
Yeah, he did like a Field in England and Kill List and what's the other great one? Fuck! It's just like he's one of the great, most prolific weirdo indie filmmakers of all time. What's the dude? Yeah, I knew you'd be excited. Caesar's excited. I'm so excited.
Okay,
that movie's gonna be trash, but it's
there were
a
some
great
other
director.
films. The
there
trailers.
were other ones. The Blue Beetle.
Oh, that looks bad. That looks like a bad movie.
That looks
terrible.
really
Yes.
bad. That was like the kid that was stung.
Yes,
That's
it looks
horrible.
terrible.
That looks
That
like
was the one that
I'll
made
tell you
me
what I am
nauseous.
excited about.
Trolls.
It's weird. No, not Trolls. Trolls is no.
Those turtles.
No, Turtles. I'm not excited about. I'm excited about the Holdovers.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
is
think I got
that?
that one.
That's another Alexander Payne film.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
yeah, I just saw
by
that.
the
That
way,
was great. That
That
was great.
reminded me of the thing that I've been working on.
I
'Cause
know.
they're like,
Go for it. Talk. Tell the story. Eric.
yes, but I was like, wait a minute. Because I remember pitching something, not that story, but just like, early 70s. They're like, that's crazy. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's
It's perfect. I thought of you when I saw that trailer, Eric, and I was like, I am so excited. And it's Alexander Payne, and it's
Yes,
got what's his
100%.
name?
Paul Giamatti.
Paul
I know all
Giamatti.
about that. I went away to school. So did you. So like, I literally know about.
The beauty of
I did
that
not
trailer.
go away to school, but you did.
The beauty of that
didn't?
trailer is that
I did not,
it's very subtle in its 70s-ness until these key moments.
The font.
Right? The font, which is amazing. The font is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's called Cooper.
It is perfect. And the freeze frame on Giamatti's face at the end, is like,
yeah.
that was a bullet to my heart.
it.
Now I was
no,
like, that
so
is
yes.
gold.
So there are certain trailers that I was like, this is terrible, and then I saw the Holdovers, and I'm like, because Alexander
Movies.
Payne, like Nebraska, was like, oh,
It's a little letdown. It's a letdown. He's a great
Letdown.
filmmaker. That was a
no,
letdown.
but I loved.
He is a great filmmaker.
Yeah. So
Yeah, Descendants,
and
7
he's been
great.
on our he's been on our podcast several times, right?
Yeah, no,
Between-
I love
Ron
that.
DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis.
No,
yes,
no, no.
Ron DeSantis,
Okay,
the Descendants.
All right. But Eric, that was a great segue to talk about the trailers coming out and the things we saw, because there was some stuff there that I was like, ugh, right? And when I saw Avatar, it was just a load of crap trailers when they came out.
It's so painful.
Ant-Man and all that other crap.
Like the when I like the for me the pain one was I actually hear that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is actually quite good, which is
It
a
looks
surprise,
cool.
but It looks
it's
pretty good.
stop motion
Yeah,
like
it has that flavor, which might
Well,
work.
I think they're trying to do the Spider-Verse thing.
They're totally emulating Spider-Verse, and I totally go for it. Like
Okay,
it
well,
looks
sure.
so much
but
better.
it has
you know?
a good cast.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be funny. But the Trolls trailer was so fucking long. I'm like, there's no way the movie is any longer than this trailer.
No, it was written by an AI. I mean, it was like, seriously, like this is
Did you see
what
Blomkamp's
this is what you
trailer?
get.
Yeah, this is
Neil Blomkamp's trailer.
yeah. Oh yeah. No. That is supposed
Which
to
one
be
was that one?
Gran
The
Turismo.
racing.
Is Neil
Wait,
Blomkamp.
Neil Blomkamp is
Yes.
doing Gran Turismo?
And it's gotten good reviews. I was like, what
Because
is
Brady and I were
happening?
like, that doesn't sound like a good movie. Like,
No, it looks dumb to me, but
Looks dumb
apparently
to
he made
me.
a good movie again.
all right, well, I
in.
am holding judgment.
We'll see,
I am
we'll
holding
see.
judgment. Okay.
I mean, there are a few filmmakers I want to make another great film.
Oh,
more
that's
than
Neil.
Blom. Yeah, that's it. That's Neil.
yeah,
but
no, I have a feeling that he's got some good ones in him.
Yes, he's
also-
incredibly talented. He just hasn't hit the.
he, you know, what's interesting about him is also he sort of, you know, after Elysium, he was like, fucks Hollywood, right? And he
Yeah,
wanted to
right.
make his own. He wanted to break the system, like
Yes.
you had talked about.
Yep.
Which turns out is really hard.
It's if you
And
integrate
very
with the
expensive.
system. Yes, exactly. If you integrate with the system at all, you will lose. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Well,
So
isn't that Oppenheimer?
What's
Yeah, you're right, Eric.
It's-
That's
he's
what
just-
Oppenheimer just is about.
Just play
basically.
integrate into the system. If you don't, you're screwed.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
how it is, man. But yeah, no, I was, I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about Meg 2, especially the tagline.
I'm not going to see that shit.
I'm excited that you're excited about it,
I
because
can't
part of me was
believe
like, I can't believe they fucking
I thought
at
it
the end jumped the actual shark. I was like,
Jumped
they
the actual
actually
shark.
jumped the
Yeah.
shark.
Like, dude, I was like, I'm watching the movie.
That's not
the
a
name
mistake.
comes
That's
up.
not a mistake.
No,
Yeah,
they're
it's
doing
probably
it.
done on
Yes, they're
purpose,
doing it.
dude.
But like,
Absolutely.
when I saw Ben Wheatley, because just flashed up for a second, directed by Ben Wheatley, I was like, am I dreaming? This doesn't make any sense. Like, Greta Gerwig directing Barbie makes some kind of sense. Ben Wheatley directing the Meg 2 doesn't make any sense at all.
All right. I'll go. Brady, we're going to go see Meg 2 together.
Yes, that's it.
Going to see the Meg 2 together.
He's got plans. He's got plans already.
This Saturday?
Nice.
Next Saturday.
Nice.
All right.
Good.
Can I go? All right.
Cannot wait. I cannot wait. Ben Wheatley, man. Yeah, if you were go see High Rise, Caesar just put up High Rise, another great one.
Okay.
That's great.
And this
great.
just goes to show that like people can take IP movies or stupid franchises and make it their own.
This is Ben Wheatley's Barbie moment,
right? Right. And so you can take Barbie and say, I'm going to make this into the ultra feminist movie.
Yes.
And first of all, whoever the fuck hired her to do Barbie.
Oh, someone's a genius.
Someone's a genius, right?
Someone's a
it was like,
genius.
oh,
It
yeah,
wasn't the woman that did the Bud Light.
No.
Yep.
By the way, isn't Gran Turismo essentially Billy Elliot?
Essentially, yes. I suppose that's
My
true.
son ain't gonna write cars. You ain't writing cars. You're gonna go to trade school. No, you play video games. Just nothing. I want to write cars. They're just in front of a screen.
I want to drive really fast.
You can't do
Oh my
it.
God, that is a savable moment. That's going to become a vertical video. I'm just telling you that right now.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
All right. Thank you guys. Listen, we've wrapped it up. We've gone our 3 hours. I think this was, honestly speaking, I didn't know how it was going to go.
What do you didn't know how it's go? It's like
Because I thought it's going to be a yell fest, honestly.
Yeah,
speaking.
who knows? It's gonna be, but like,
how would it be a yell fest? It's like
I took a moment for some personal examination. I discovered the
I did
problem
the
in my
same
heart.
thing. I did the same thing.
I came into it with open arms.
Because Eric, honestly speaking, Eric, you've always been kind of like the meh guy, and then Dan and I get into these heated discussions about stuff.
What do you mean I'm the Mac guy? Like I don't
You're
know.
the guy who kind of like I don't care.
If it, with a big movie, you'll find the good stuff in it. Like that's
Look,
true.
I don't think it's I don't care. I just like what I like.
You have a good balance. You have a good balance of looking at things. You don't take it too personally.
Right.
You don't take it as personally. That's the way I say it.
I see a glint of Return of the Jedi in something, and I set the whole house on fire.
No. Just to clarify, I watch everything. I like stuff, but I have a very distinct eye in a sense of like I like what I like, and that fuels me to move forward.
Absolutely.
And so when it's like I don't give a shit because it's crap or this or that.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Meg.
But you don't take it personally.
Right.
Well, it's I used to take things personally, but I don't. I can't. It's
You can't
just
spend the energy anymore.
well,
Yeah.
no. It's just because it takes away from your time as a creator.
This is true.
See, like if you look,
This is
well,
as
whatever
endless as
time
I
for
can
that.
afford to learn.
I can't see that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Nice.
right?
Lovely, lovely.
But the thing is, I also did that stuff for you, Chris, while we were talking.
I love
That's
it.
lovely. Beautiful.
Right? I did all the
Listen,
characters.
Awesome. So we are just since you guys have stuck with us this long, either you're in the stream or you are in the or listening to the podcast. The three of us are actually working on some big stuff together. We are actually
it's exciting.
It is apparently expanded quite largely to the point where like I'm almost feel like the Greta Gerwig moment, like, oh wait, what?
Yep.
But we're going to do some amazing things together, and I'm excited about it. And I'm going to make sure that we execute this in some ways. And so got some big people behind it, and we are going to expand on it. And so I
News
can't
as it
wait.
comes.
Yeah,
That's
see as it
exciting.
comes, we're going to start revealing more and more as we go. But use this as an excuse to say to people, by the way, you guys should pay attention to these guys because things are going to start happening.
That's right. It's going to
It
get
may
exciting.
start actually happening, and it's worth
pumped.
it. Yeah, it's not a
pumped. That's
Pogs
good.
film. No.
Don't Now that's going to screw up our Pox contract.
Yeah, we're gonna make something, and let me put it this way: I am actually traveling the globe, and for the next few months, and a lot of that is involved in this. So I'm like,
it's gonna be
holy
cool.
crap! I'm like, I didn't realize this is happening. And Dan and I are going to spend a lot of time in front of a virtual camera.
Oh, I'm
next
so
week.
Fucking pumped about this. This is going to be great.
So we're going to be doing some virtual camera stuff, and Eric is going to be helping us a lot. And I actually may have to talk to you about that later. But anyway.
Oh, wait. Hey, can I plug you on my new podcast?
We'll plug both of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is.
And first of all, plug your new podcast.
I'm very excited. I have a new podcast that just started up that is called Love It. You can find it on my YouTube channel.
Very much in the Martini Giant brand ideas of things.
Yes.
I love this idea. Keep going.
It's very fun. There's a beautiful opening episode where I got to interview my friend James Paris, who's the director, and it's
Fabulous
really
person.
lovely. And I also conducted an excellent time interview with both Chris and another one with Eric coming down the pike. Chris will be up this Wednesday. And I don't want to spoil what he talks about, but it's something he talks about on this podcast quite a bit.
Lot. If you can take, I'm going to ask you people like Jason and Caesar are still in chat. Like, what is the number one thing I talk about that I absolutely love that is not necessarily about movies? Just going to put it that way. And that's probably good. If you nail it, you nail it. That's what I'm going to talk about. And yep. You got it.
Yeah, on the nosy.
Caesar was a good answer, though.
That's true. Next episode. Fraser will be the next one.
But I do want to say that it was hilarious because Daniel said, it's like, oh, these are half-hour episodes, and it seems impossible for you and I to have a conversation that's less than 2 hours.
This is really, really good. I feel quite full of charming knowledge about fly fishing now. It's really excellent.
Yeah.
It was a very, very
you
good
guys
time.
will hear about that. And then Eric has a fabulous episode. He told me a brief preview of it, but I didn't.
It's actually
but
very
I
good.
don't want to hear anything more. I know what the subject is, but I'm excited to hear.
It was a lovely time, really beautiful. So I'm very excited to put that one out.
So yours are coming out once a week too, right? You're going to try to put these out once a week. Okay,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Great.
But thanks for checking it out. There it is.
Guys, that was fun.
That was
a good
fun.
time.
So go check it out. If you want to see Love It, it's on Daniel's YouTube channel and it's just called Love It. So check it out there. And then we're going to wrap this up. I am probably going to be too busy to do a podcast next few weeks. I know you're traveling. When are you starting to travel, Daniel?
I think that's going to be after the 14th.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that. So next week, we'll either do a podcast or do a watch party. We haven't done a watch
Dan,
party
I
in a
sent something
long
in
time.
Founders.
Oh, thank you. Great.
We haven't done a watch party in a long time, so check us out. Just make sure to check us out on our Discord for all of that information. That our Discord is in our YouTube link.
Yep.
But otherwise, thanks for joining us for Barbenheimer. I have been excited about this since we said we got to do this right away.
That's a good one.
And we all buckled up and watched the movies. Eric, you did them all in record time. Thank you for doing this one. I think it was a great episode.
I'm going to
love
go
this
back
episode.
to Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that
I
again.
got to
I'm
go
going to try and get a ticket for 70
I really
millimeter.
loved it. The visuals were incredible.
I actually want to go see the. Sorry, distracted.
I want to get a soundtrack. Just
Did you
walking
hear
around my
the
house.
story about the guy who bought the ticket at who went viral on social, like Twitter or whatever, or he bought a ticket to Oppenheimer on 70 on the IMAX screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he showed a picture of the ticket he bought. You know how you see all the seats.
Yeah,
he bought
right.
the front row middle seat.
God, why?
And then it's all empty behind him. And he's like, I'm seeing this. I'm doing it full on. And so now, it's been
retinal problems.
It went into like it went viral on the internet, and people keep showing pictures of what's his name, Fosti, with the sunglasses going, just looking at the explosion head on.
I like that a lot. That's good.
Oh, it's so
man.
great.
Yep.
It's
there
so
you go.
great. All right. I'm ready for it. I'm sorry. I had to digress into all those stories, but
That's
those
all right.
are so cool.
That was a good show tonight.
That was
loved
fun.
it.
That was
I
good.
loved it. And I'm glad we were able to share those experiences and we were able to talk through all of our issues.
It's true. Very deep cuts. Deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Eric, you're wonderful. I love you. And let's wrap this up. You guys ready?
Yes.
Drink.
Talk.
Drink.